Book 1, The Heavenly Bell. Chapter 1, The Princess Who Died in the Furnace. The first thing Lin Yao heard after death was the sound of a bell that had not yet been born. It groaned inside the imperial furnace, deep and furious, as if a mountain had opened its mouth beneath the palace. Flames rose higher than the city walls. Ministers covered their faces. Priests chanted until their throats bled. And above them all, the emperor stood in his dragon robe, staring at his 17th daughter like she was not his child, but a missing ingredient. "Throw her in," the imperial astrologer said. Lin Yao was 16 years old. She had no spiritual root, no mother's clan to defend her. No army, no title worth fearing, no husband waiting with a rescue plan. In the palace records, she was the unlucky princess born during an eclipse, the one whose first cry cracked the ancestral tablet. So when the heavenly bell failed to form for the 9th time, the court decided heaven had named its price. Lin Yao remembered struggling. She remembered screaming for her father. She remembered the emperor closing his eyes. Then the guards lifted her over the bronze mouth of the furnace. At the final moment, when the fire swallowed her shadow, Lin Yao saw the imperial astrologer smile. Not with relief. With victory. That was when she understood. The prophecy was fake. But understanding came too late. Her body fell, the flames closed. The unfinished bell roared once, loud enough to shatter every window in the capital. And then Lin Yao died. When she opened her eyes again, she was kneeling on cold jade tiles. Music floated through the palace hall. Lanterns burned with dragon-shaped flames. Noble ladies whispered behind painted fans, and ministers laughed into cups of plum wine. At the head of the hall, Emperor Shen raised a golden cup. Lin Yao knew this banquet. Her fingers trembled inside her sleeves. This was the spring blessing feast. 3 years before her death. Across the hall, Prince Rui was still smiling like a harmless older brother. General Wei Han still stood near the doors in black armor, young and proud, not yet disgraced. And beside the emperor, holding a white jade tablet, stood imperial astrologer Yue Qian. Alive. Unpunished. Still wearing the same gentle smile he had worn before ordering her into the fire. Lin Yao lowered her head before anyone could see the hatred in her eyes. In her first life, this was the night Yue Qian first called her unlucky in front of the court. In her first life, she had cried. This time, she smiled. The emperor noticed. 17th princess, he said, his voice carrying through the hall. Why are you smiling? Every conversation stopped. Lin Yao looked up slowly. She was still weak, still powerless, still trapped in a palace where her life could be traded for a ritual object. But she had one thing no one else had. Memory. She bowed until her forehead nearly touched the jade floor. This daughter is happy, she said softly, because the bell has not rung yet. The ministers frowned. Yue Qian's smile faded by a fraction. Only Lin Yao heard it then. Far beneath the palace, sealed below 9 layers of stone, something ancient answered her words. Dong. One quiet note. Too deep for human ears. Too familiar for her soul to mistake. The heavenly bell was calling her. And this time, Lin Yao would not be its sacrifice. This time, she would become its master. The emperor set down his cup. You speak strangely tonight. His voice was calm, but Lin Yao knew him well enough now to hear the warning beneath it. Emperor Shen did not like surprises. He feared them. A ruler could forgive stupidity, vanity, even cruelty, but he could not forgive uncertainty. Uncertainty was how Yue Qian had ruled him for years. Lin Yao lowered her eyes. Forgive me, Father Emperor. I only meant that the heavenly bell is still unfinished, so the dynasty still has time to pray for good fortune. It was a harmless answer. Too harmless. Yue Qian stepped forward with his white jade tablet in both hands. Your Majesty, he said, the 17th princess was born under a broken star. Her words often carry hidden omens. Since she has mentioned the bell before the rites have begun, perhaps heaven is urging us to listen. There it was. The first thread of the net. Lin Yao remembered this moment from her first life. Yue Qian had spoken almost the same words. The court had laughed politely, then whispered, then begun to avoid her. Within 1 month, servants stopped bringing warm food to her palace. Within 1 year, priests would not accept incense from her hands. Within 3 years, no one in the capital had questioned whether an unlucky princess should die for an imperial ritual. A person was not thrown into a furnace in one day. First, they were turned into a symbol. Then a burden. Then a cure. Lin Yao kept her face pale and obedient. "Astrologer Yue is wise," she said. The hall went still again. Yue Kaiyan looked at her. Lin Yao continued softly. "Since heaven may be urging us to listen, perhaps we should listen carefully. Tonight is the spring blessing feast. If heaven is displeased, the ceremonial spirit lamp will show it before midnight." A few ministers exchanged looks. The ceremonial spirit lamp stood in the center of the hall, a tall golden vessel filled with clear blue flame. It was said to reflect the fortune of the dynasty. Most years, it burned blue until dawn. But Lin Yao remembered tonight. She remembered the exact hour. Before midnight, the flame would turn black. In her first life, Yue Kaiyan had used that omen against her. He had claimed her smile polluted the blessing feast. He had demanded she be confined for 3 months of ritual purification. That confinement had been the beginning of her isolation. This time, she placed the omen on the table before he could. Yue Kaiyan's hand tightened around his jade tablet. It was brief. Almost nothing. But Lin Yao saw it. For the first time since her rebirth, the man who had killed her looked uncertain. And that small uncertainty warmed her more than the palace lanterns ever could. Chapter 2: The Black Spirit Lamp. At first, no one believed Lin Yao. Why would they? She was the 17th princess, the quiet one, the weak one, the daughter of a dead consort from a forgotten clan. Her name appeared in palace records more often beside unlucky dates than beside imperial ceremonies. When Lin Yao said the ceremonial spirit lamp would change before midnight, some ministers lowered their heads to hide their smiles. A few noble daughters glanced at her with pity. Prince Rui gave a gentle laugh, as if he wanted to save her from embarrassment. "Little 17th," he said, "you must be tired. The rites are complicated, and astrologer Yue's words can frighten anyone." His voice was warm. That was what made him dangerous. In her first life, Prince Rui had been the only sibling who sometimes spoke kindly to her. He sent medicine when she coughed blood in winter. He told the servants not to mock her where she could hear. When she was dragged to the furnace, he had even looked away, as if he could not bear to watch. Only later, as the flames swallowed her, had Lin Yao remembered something strange. Prince Rui had not looked horrified. He had looked impatient. Now he stood beneath the palace lanterns with the same graceful smile, every inch the beloved prince. Lin Yao bowed her head. "Elder brother is right, I am easily frightened." Prince Rui's smile deepened. Yue Kaiyan studied her in silence. The emperor lifted one hand, and the musicians resumed. Cups rose again. Dancers in cloud-colored silk crossed the hall. Conversation returned, but it did not flow as smoothly as before. Every few breaths, someone looked at the spirit lamp. Lin Yao did not. She already knew what it would do. Instead, she watched people. Minister Cao, who would later sign the petition for her sacrifice, drank too much when nervous. The empress tapped one finger against her cup whenever Prince Rui spoke to another faction. General Wei Han did not drink at all. He stood by the doors like a drawn blade, young enough to be underestimated and proud enough to make enemies by breathing. Lin Yao's gaze paused on him. In her first life, General Wei had been accused of stealing spirit iron from the northern border mines. His father had died under interrogation. His soldiers had been scattered. By the time Lin Yao was sacrificed, the Wei family was already ruined. But tonight, he was still whole. That meant some tragedies could still be stopped. The thought startled her. She had awakened with hatred burning in her bones. She wanted Yue Kaiyan exposed. She wanted Prince Rui dragged from his silk cushions. She wanted the emperor to look into the furnace and understand what he had done. But revenge was not the same as survival. And survival was not the same as victory. If she wanted to defeat Yue Kaiyan, she needed allies before he sealed every door around her. The first change came near the hour of high. A cold wind passed through the palace hall. The doors were closed, the braziers were full. Still, every candle flame leaned toward the ceremonial spirit lamp. The blue flame inside the golden vessel shrank. One noble lady gasped. The musicians faltered. The flame bent inward, twisting like a silk thread pulled by invisible fingers. Its blue light darkened to violet, then ink. By the time the water clock struck midnight, the ceremonial spirit lamp was burning black. No one laughed then. The black flame gave off no heat. It rose silently from the golden vessel, devouring light around it. Faces near the center of the hall turned gray. The dancers dropped to their knees. Ministers stumbled away from the omen as if darkness itself had grown teeth. Astrologer Yue, the emperor said. 2 words. Cold enough to freeze blood. Yue Qian stepped forward, but this time he did not look at the emperor first. He looked at Lin Yao. Lin Yao widened her eyes at the correct moment, letting fear show on her face. Not too much, just enough to look like a girl who had spoken nonsense and watched it become truth. Father Emperor, she whispered, this daughter did not know. Yue Qian's gaze sharpened. She could almost hear his thoughts. Impossible. How did she know? The emperor stood. Everyone fell silent. Explain. Yue Qian bowed. Your Majesty, the blackening of the spirit lamp means the dynasty's fortune has encountered an obstruction. It may be a warning from heaven. What obstruction? Yue Qian paused. In her first life, he had answered immediately. The unlucky princess. This time, because Lin Yao had predicted the omen before it happened, he could not accuse her too quickly. If he did, the court might wonder whether he was following heaven or chasing her shadow. Lin Yao lowered her head to hide her smile. 1 breath. 2. Yue Qian finally said, this humble servant must consult the star charts before speaking. It was the first retreat Lin Yao had ever seen him make. Small. Temporary. But real. Then the black flame moved. It leaned toward Lin Yao. The hall erupted. Several guards drew swords. A minister shouted that the princess was cursed. The empress pulled Prince Rui back as if Lin Yao might infect him by standing too close. The emperor's eyes hardened. Lin Yao knew this was dangerous. Too dangerous. The lamp had not done this in her first life. Something had changed because she had changed. Deep beneath the palace, the silent bell gave another sound. Dong. The black flame trembled. Lin Yao felt a sudden pain in her chest, as if an invisible thread had been pulled tight around her heart. Then a woman's voice whispered in her ear. Come home. Lin Yao froze. The voice was soft, tired, and achingly familiar. She had not heard it since she was 6 years old. Her mother. Consort Ming. Dead for 10 years. The black flame collapsed back into blue. The hall filled with light again, but Lin Yao could no longer hear the ministers. She could no longer hear the emperor. She could only hear those 2 words echoing inside her bones. Come home. That night, after the feast ended in panic, and the court scattered into whispers, Lin Yao returned to her small palace under guard. Her maid, Asu, cried while helping her remove the heavy ceremonial robes. Princess, what will happen now? Lin Yao looked at her own reflection in the bronze mirror. In her first life, after this banquet, she had cried until dawn. Tonight, her eyes were dry. Now, Lin Yao said, we visit my mother's palace. Asu turned pale, but Consort Ming's palace was sealed by imperial order. Lin Yao lifted her hand and touched the place above her heart, where the invisible thread still hurt. Then we go before anyone remembers to guard it properly. Outside the window, the wind moved through the palace trees. For one moment, it sounded like a woman sighing. And from far below the earth, the unborn bell waited. Chapter 3, The Hairpin Beneath the Ashes. Consort Ming's palace stood in the eastern corner of the imperial city, where the walls were old and the lanterns were rarely lit. In daylight, it looked forgotten. At night, it looked forbidden. The signboard above the gate had cracked down the center. Vines crawled over the stone lions. Dust covered the bronze door rings so thickly that when Lin Yao touched one, her fingers came away gray. Asu stood behind her, shaking hard enough for the keys at her waist to make a tiny sound. "Princess," she whispered, "if we are caught here, they will say you are summoning ghosts. Then we should not be caught." Lin Yao pushed the gate. It did not move. The seal talisman pasted across the doors had faded with age, but imperial seals were not meant to rot like ordinary paper. Dark red characters still pulsed faintly across its surface. In her first life, Lin Yao had never dared come here. When she was little, the old palace women told her consort Ming died of illness. Later, they said her mother's blood was unlucky. Later still, no one said anything at all. Silence had become the only memorial her mother was allowed. But tonight, the black spirit lamp had spoken with consort Ming's voice. Lin Yao would not ignore the dead a second time. She removed the jade hairpin from her own hair. It was cheap, pale, and ordinary, one of the few things left from her childhood. Her mother had given it to her before falling ill. Lin Yao had worn it every day without knowing why. The moment the hairpin touched the imperial seal, the red characters flickered. Asu gasped. The talisman split down the middle. The gate opened by itself. No wind came from inside. No dust stirred. The darkness beyond the threshold was perfectly still, as if the abandoned palace had been holding its breath for 10 years. Lin Yao stepped inside. The courtyard smelled of old rain and dead flowers. Moonlight silvered the stone path. A lotus pond sat empty in the center of the yard, its water long dried, its carved edges covered in moss. Nothing looked alive. But Lin Yao felt watched. Not by a person. By memory. She crossed the courtyard and entered the main hall. Asu followed close enough to step on her hem. Inside, the furniture remained exactly where it had been left: a low table, a screen painted with cranes, a cracked teacup, an embroidery frame holding half-finished clouds. Lin Yao touched the embroidery frame. The thread broke beneath her fingers. For a moment, she saw a woman's hands guiding a needle. Gentle hands, warm hands, hands that had once tied ribbons into her hair. Then the vision vanished. "Mother," Lin Yao whispered. No one answered. But the jade hairpin in her hand began to hum. Asu grabbed her sleeve. "Princess, the incense burner." At the center of the hall stood a bronze incense burner shaped like a sleeping crane. Its lid was sealed with hardened ash. The hairpin's hum grew stronger as Lin Yao approached it. She lifted the lid. Inside was not incense. It was ash. Layer upon layer of gray ash, packed so tightly it looked like stone. Lin Yao dug into it with her fingers. Asu tried to stop her, but Lin Yao did not care about dirty hands. She dug until her nails cracked. She dug until gray dust streaked her sleeves. At the bottom of the burner, her fingers struck jade. She pulled out a second hairpin. This one was not cheap. It was white jade threaded with gold, carved in the shape of a small phoenix feather. The moment Lin Yao held it, the palace around her changed. The broken screen stood whole. The lamps burned bright. The dried pond outside filled with moonlit water. And in front of Lin Yao stood consort Ming. She was younger than Lin Yao remembered, dressed in plain blue robes, her face pale but beautiful. Her eyes were full of sorrow. "Yar," she said. Lin Yao could not breathe. She had lived 16 years, died in fire, and returned with hatred sharp enough to cut bone. But one word from her mother nearly broke her. "Mother." Consort Ming reached for her, but her hand passed through Lin Yao's cheek like mist. "If you are seeing this, the bell has called you." Lin Yao swallowed the ache in her throat. "What is the heavenly bell?" The vision flickered. Consort Ming turned toward the north, toward the heart of the palace, where the imperial furnace waited. "Not a weapon," she said, "not an offering vessel, not a tool for emperors." Her voice lowered. "It is a lock." Before Lin Yao could ask what it locked away, a floorboard creaked behind her. The vision shattered. The hall returned to dust and moonlight. Asu screamed. 3 eunuchs stood inside the doorway. They wore palace servant robes, but their shoes were wrong. Too quiet. Too clean. Assassins. The one in front smiled. 17th Princess, His Highness Prince Rui was worried when you left your palace. He asked us to escort you back. Lin Yao hid the phoenix hairpin inside her sleeve. Did he? Of course. The assassin stepped forward. Lin Yao had no martial skill, no sword, no spiritual root. In her first life, a single palace guard could drag her wherever he wished. But she had memory. And now she had her mother's warning. The heavenly bell was not a weapon. It was a lock, which meant somewhere in this palace there had to be a door. Lin Yao turned and ran. Asu cried out and followed her. The assassins lunged. A blade flashed past Lin Yao's shoulder, slicing through her outer robe. She stumbled through a side door into a narrow corridor she did not remember from childhood. The corridor sloped downward. The air changed at once. Cold. Metallic. Full of a vibration too low to hear. Behind her, the assassins cursed and gave chase. Lin Yao pressed one hand against the wall to keep her balance. The stone beneath her palm was carved with old characters, almost worn smooth. Then the phoenix hairpin burned against her wrist. The corridor filled with sound. Not loud. Not exactly. It was more like the memory of sound, a bell note trapped in stone for generations. The first assassin entered the corridor and raised his knife. The note deepened. His blade cracked in half. He stared at it stunned. Lin Yao did not stop running. At the end of the passage, the corridor opened into a round chamber beneath Consort Ming's palace. The walls were covered in inscriptions. In the center stood a stone door with no handle. Above it were 4 ancient characters. Blood opens truth. Lin Yao understood before she wanted to. She bit her thumb and pressed it to the stone. The door trembled. Behind her, the assassins rushed into the chamber. The stone door opened. A woman's voice echoed from within. Not a memory this time. Not a vision. Consort Ming's voice filled the chamber like living breath. Yar, listen carefully. The man beside the emperor is not serving heaven. The assassins froze. Lin Yao stepped through the door. And in the darkness beyond it, her mother's voice spoke the truth that had cost her life. He is feeding the thing buried under the capital. Chapter 4, The General Marked for Treason. The chamber beneath Consort Ming's palace was colder than winter. Lin Yao stood beyond the open stone door with ash on her sleeves, blood on her thumb, and her mother's warning echoing in her ears. He is feeding the thing buried under the capital. Behind her, the assassins had stopped moving. Not because they were afraid of Lin Yao. Because the walls were speaking. Ancient inscriptions glowed one by one across the round chamber, lines of gold crawling through stone like veins of fire. Each character gave off a low vibration that pressed against the bones. The 3 assassins clutched their heads. Asu collapsed to her knees with both hands over her ears. Lin Yao felt the pressure too, but it did not hurt her. It recognized her. The phoenix hairpin in her sleeve grew warm. Then Consort Ming's voice returned, softer now, as if traveling from a very far place. Yar, remember this. The bell does not ask for death. It answers only to guardians. If Yue Kaiyan completes the false rite, the thing beneath the capital will wake wearing heaven's name. The glowing words shifted. Lin Yao saw images in the stone. A vast bronze bell hanging over a black abyss. 9 chains of light stretching from the bell into the earth. A woman in blue robes standing alone before a sealed gate. Then blood. So much blood that the golden inscriptions turned red. Lin Yao reached toward the wall. Mother, what did you seal? The answer did not come. Instead, one of the assassins forced himself forward with a roar. His knife was broken, but he still had 2 hands and a killer's desperation. He lunged at Lin Yao, fingers curled for her throat. Before he reached her, the chamber rang. Not with a full bell note. Only a thin echo. But it was enough. The assassin flew backward, as if struck by an invisible hammer. His body slammed into the wall, and the glowing inscriptions wrapped around him like golden ropes. The other 2 turned to flee. The stone door closed behind them. Asu made a small terrified sound. Lin Yao stared at the trapped assassins. In her first life, men like this had dragged her by the arms while she screamed. They had obeyed orders. They had not hated her. They had not cared enough to hate her. That had made it worse. Now they were the ones pressed to the ground by a power they could not understand. For one breath, Lin Yao wanted to leave them there until the chamber swallowed them. Then the phoenix hairpin pulsed. Her mother's voice whispered, "A guardian does not begin with revenge." Lin Yao closed her eyes. She hated how much those words hurt. When she opened them again, her face was calm. "Who sent you?" The assassin nearest the wall clenched his jaw. Lin Yao stepped closer. "If you refuse, I will open the door and let the imperial guards find you in my mother's forbidden palace. Prince Rui will deny knowing you. Astrologer Yue will say you were possessed. Your families will disappear before dawn." The man's face changed. Good. He had a family. That meant he had something fear could reach. "Speak," Lin Yao said, "and I will let your family live." The assassin swallowed. "We were told only to bring you back if possible." "And if not possible?" He looked away. Su began to cry again. Lin Yao did not. "Who paid you?" "A steward from Prince Rui's residence." Lin Yao had expected the answer, but hearing it still settled like ice under her ribs. Prince Rui had moved faster than in her first life. Because she had moved first. Every change she made would create another change. Every step away from her old death would make Yue Kaiyan and Rui adjust their blades. She had no time to be careful forever. Lin Yao lifted the phoenix hairpin. "Swear by your bloodline that you will leave the capital tonight and never appear before me again." The assassin stared at her. "You would spare us." "No," Lin Yao said, "I am using you." His eyes widened. "When Prince Rui realizes you failed, he will wonder who helped me. Let him wonder. Fear grows best in darkness." For the first time, Su looked at Lin Yao not as a frightened maid looking at a doomed princess, but as someone seeing a hidden blade slide free of its sheath. Lin Yao pressed the hairpin against the glowing wall. The golden ropes loosened. The assassins did not wait for mercy to change its mind. They stumbled out through the open stone door and vanished into the corridor. Su rushed to Lin Yao's side. "Princess, are we truly letting them go?" "For now. But they tried to kill you. And now they will tell Prince Rui they failed, because something under Consort Ming's palace protected me." Lin Yao looked back at the inscriptions. "Let him be afraid of my dead mother." They returned to Lin Yao's palace before dawn. No guard stopped them. That was the first sign something else had gone wrong. The second sign came when Su opened the door and found a black feather lying on the table. It was not from any bird. It was made of iron. Lin Yao picked it up between two fingers. Her chest tightened. She knew this token. In 3 days, the Court of Military Justice would accuse General Wei Han of stealing spirit iron from the northern border mines. The evidence would include forged orders, false witness statements, and one iron feather token supposedly belonging to the Wei Army's secret scouts. This feather was the first piece of that trap. In her first life, Lin Yao had heard about the case only after it ended. General Wei's father had died under interrogation. Wei Han had been stripped of command. The northern border had fallen into chaos before winter. And Yue Kaiyan had gained control of the spirit iron supply needed for the heavenly bell. Now the iron feather lay in her room. Someone was trying to tie her to the Wei family before the accusation even began. Su whispered, "Princess, should I burn it?" Lin Yao almost said yes. Then she remembered General Wei standing at the banquet doors, refusing to drink, refusing to flatter, still unaware that his entire family was walking toward a pit. If she destroyed the feather, she might protect herself for a day. But Wei Han would still fall. And she needed allies who could carry swords where she could not. Lin Yao closed her fingers around the iron feather. "No, prepare plain clothes." Su blinked. "Now." "Now? Where are we going?" Lin Yao looked toward the north of the palace, where the military offices would soon open for morning reports. To stop a loyal general from becoming a traitor. By sunrise, Lin Yao had changed into a pale servant robe and covered half her face with a veil. The imperial palace at dawn was a different creature from the palace at night. Servants moved like water through side corridors. Eunuchs carried documents. Guards changed shifts. Cooks shouted from the outer kitchens. Everyone was too busy to look closely at one more quiet girl with lowered eyes. Asu walked 3 steps behind her, carrying a basket of folded cloth to complete the disguise. Lin Yao took the narrow servant's path toward the court of military justice. She had never walked it in her first life. There had been no reason. The old Lin Yao had waited for fate to enter her room. The reborn Lin Yao went looking for the hand that wrote it. She reached the military court just as General Wei Han arrived. He wore black armor without ornament. His hair was tied high. His face was young, but his eyes had the cold steadiness of someone who had watched men die and kept giving orders because the living still needed him. 2 officers walked beside him. One was Captain Luo, his father's old subordinate. The other was a thin clerk Lin Yao, recognized from memory. In her first life, that clerk had testified that he saw Wei soldiers smuggling spirit iron at night. His name was Kaio Ren. And he was lying before anyone had even asked him a question. Lin Yao lowered her head as they passed. Kaio Ren's sleeve brushed her basket. She let the iron feather fall into it. Then she stumbled. The basket tipped. Folded cloth spilled across the stone path, and the iron feather slid out with a clear metallic sound. Every guard nearby turned. Kaio Ren's face went white. General Wei Han stopped. Lin Yao dropped to her knees immediately. "Forgive me, my lords." Asu knelt behind her, shaking for real this time. Captain Luo frowned. "What is that?" Kaio Ren moved too quickly. "It is nothing, a servant's trinket." Wei Han looked at him. Only one glance. But Kaio Ren froze. Wei Han picked up the iron feather. For a moment, nothing showed on his face. Then he said, "This belongs to the Northern Scout Registry." Kaio Ren forced a laugh. Perhaps one of the soldiers dropped it. The Scout Registry tokens are sealed in the command chest. Then perhaps it is old. Wei Han turned the feather over. This token was cast last month. The air changed. Lin Yao kept her head down, but inside her pulse beat hard. This was a dangerous gamble. If Wei Han dismissed the feather, she would lose her chance. If he exposed too much, Kaio Ren might be killed before naming his master. But General Wei was sharper than the court had expected. That was why they had needed to destroy him. Wei Han looked down at Lin Yao. "Where did you get this?" Lin Yao made her voice small. "This servant does not know. It fell into my basket when I passed the West document room." Kaio Ren's breathing changed. Wei Han heard it too. "The West document room," he repeated. Captain Luo's hand went to his sword. Kaio Ren stepped back. "General, we will be late for the morning report." "Then we should hurry." Wei Han's voice was calm. "Too calm." "Captain Luo, seal the West document room." Kaio Ren turned and ran. He made it 5 steps. Wei Han's sword left its sheath with a sound like torn silk. He did not strike the clerk. He threw the sword. The blade pinned Kaio Ren's sleeve to a wooden pillar. The entire courtyard went silent. Wei Han walked over, pulled the sword free, and looked at the clerk without expression. Running before being accused is an interesting habit. Kaio Ren collapsed to his knees. By the time the West document room was opened, the forged orders were still drying. They had not expected anyone to look so soon. There were 3 letters bearing the Wei family military seal, all ordering secret movement of spirit iron from the northern mines. The handwriting was excellent. The phrasing was almost perfect. Almost. Lin Yao knew the mistake because she had heard it mentioned once in her first life, after it was too late to matter. The forger had used the phrase, "obedient to imperial fortune." The Wei family never wrote that. They wrote "obedient to border oath." It was an old military custom from the founding emperor's reign. Most court officials had forgotten it. Yue Kaiyan's people had not known it existed. Wei Han held the forged order and stared at the phrase for a long moment. Then his gaze shifted to Lin Yao. He knew. Not everything, but enough to understand that this servant girl had not stumbled by accident. Lin Yao kept her eyes lowered. Kaio Ren broke within the hour. He named a steward connected to Prince Rui's residence. He named a payment in spirit jade. He named a secret instruction: ruin the Wei family before the next furnace ceremony. He did not name Yue Kaiyan. Of course he did not. Yue Kaiyan never stood close enough to blood to stain his sleeves. The military court exploded into chaos. Captain Lu O dragged Kaio Ren away. Officers shouted for sealed reports. Servants ran in every direction. By noon, half the palace knew someone had tried to frame General Wei Han and failed. Lin Yao slipped out before anyone could ask why a veiled servant had been present at the perfect moment. She almost made it to the eastern corridor. Then a sword blocked her path. General Wei Han stood before her. No attendants. No witnesses. Only the two of them, beneath a row of silent cypress trees. "Remove the veil," he said. Asu nearly fainted. Lin Yao touched the edge of the cloth. For one breath, she considered lying. Then she removed the veil. Wei Han's eyes narrowed. 17th Princess. General Wei. You saved my family today. You saved yourself, I only dropped something. Do not insult me with palace talk. His voice was low, but not angry. That made it worse. Honest men were harder to manipulate. They expected truth to behave like a sword, with one edge and one point. Lin Yao had lived in a palace long enough to know truth was often more useful as smoke. Wei Han stepped closer. How did you know about the forged seal? Lin Yao looked at him. In her first life, she had trusted no one and died alone. In this life, trust was still a luxury she could not afford. But alliances did not begin with trust. They began with need. Your father, Lin Yao said, once said the Wei family obeys border oath before imperial fortune. Wei Han went completely still. The words struck him harder than any confession could have. Because his father had not said them in court. He had said them in prison. On the night before his death. In a future that had not happened yet. Wei Han's hand tightened around his sword. Who told you that? Lin Yao met his eyes. No one living. For the first time, General Wei Han looked afraid. Not of her. Of the world that had made her answer possible. And beneath the palace, the heavenly bell gave one silent note, as if approving the first piece Lin Yao had moved onto the board. Chapter 5, The First Bell Inscription. General Wei Han did not kneel. That was the first thing Lin Yao noticed after giving him an impossible answer. Most people in the palace knelt when they were frightened. They lowered themselves and hoped the danger would pass over their heads. Wei Han only stood straighter. His fear became discipline. That was useful. Princess, he said slowly, if this is a trick, it is a cruel one. It is not a trick. Then explain it. Lin Yao almost laughed. Explain that she had died in an imperial furnace. Explain that she had awakened 3 years before her death. Explain that his father had been executed in a future she was now trying to break. There were truths so large, they sounded like madness, unless they were given one piece at a time. Your family was going to be framed, she said. I knew enough to stop it. For now, that is all you need. Wei Han studied her face. He was looking for ambition, for fear, for the greedy shine court nobles carried when they thought they had gained leverage over a military family. Lin Yao let him look. He would find hatred if he knew how to read it. But not greed. Not for his family's command. What do you want? He asked. Access. To what? The old military records from the founding emperor's reign. Anything mentioning the heavenly bell, consort Ming's clan, or a guardian oath. Wei Han's expression changed. The heavenly bell is an imperial ritual matter. No, it is a lock. The words left her before she could soften them. Wei Han's eyes sharpened. Lin Yao continued, and someone is trying to open it. For a long moment, only the cypress leaves moved above them. Then Wei Han lowered his sword. There is an archive beneath the western drill hall, he said. Old campaign records, founding-era oaths, border maps. Most court officials ignore it because the paper smells of mold and dead soldiers. Can you get me inside? Yes. Tonight. His eyebrows lifted. You give orders quickly for someone asking a favor. I saved your family quickly. For half a breath, Lin Yao thought he might smile. He did not. But something in his expression shifted. Not trust. Recognition. One cornered person recognizing another. Tonight, Wei Han said. They separated before the next patrol rounded the corridor. By afternoon, the palace had become a hive split open. Rumors flew faster than birds. Some said General Wei had uncovered a conspiracy by pure luck. Some said Prince Rui's steward had been falsely named by a desperate clerk. Some said the unlucky 17th princess had been seen near the military court in servant robes. That last rumor died quickly. Not because it was unbelievable. Because no one cared enough about Lin Yao to keep repeating it. That too was useful. People watched bright stars and drawn swords. They rarely watched ashes. Lin Yao spent the day inside her palace, appearing obediently shaken by the previous night's events. When an imperial physician came to check her pulse, she let her hand tremble. When a palace matron asked whether she had gone anywhere after the feast, she lowered her eyes and said she had been too frightened to sleep. The matron left satisfied. Asu closed the door and leaned against it. Princess, I think I am becoming a worse person. Lin Yao looked up from the phoenix hairpin. Why? Because when you lie now, I feel proud instead of scared. This time, Lin Yao did smile. Only a little. It vanished quickly. The phoenix hairpin lay across her palm, cool and silent. Since leaving Consort Ming's underground chamber, it had stopped glowing. No matter how Lin Yao turned it, no more visions appeared. But carved along its inner curve were tiny characters she had not noticed before. Not the modern court script. Older. Sharper. The same script as the chamber walls. Asu squinted at it. Can you read that? Not yet. But she would. In her first life, Lin Yao had been kept ignorant because ignorance made her easier to sacrifice. In this life, every forbidden word would become a weapon. Night came slowly. When the third watch sounded, Lin Yao changed into dark robes and left through the laundry passage. Asu wanted to come, but Lin Yao refused. If I am caught, you know nothing. Asu's eyes reddened. I already know too much. Then live long enough for it to matter. The western drill hall stood near the outer palace wall. During the day, soldiers trained there under the eyes of board officials. At night, it belonged to shadows and old banners. Wei Han waited beside a stone lion with a hooded lantern in one hand. You came alone, he said. So did you. I brought a sword. I brought blackmail. He looked at her. She looked back. This time, he almost smiled. Almost. The archive entrance was hidden beneath a weapon rack inside the drill hall. Wei Han pressed 2 fingers to a carved mark on the floor, and a section of stone slid aside without a sound. Cold air rose from below. The stairway was narrow. Wei Han went first. Lin Yao followed, one hand on the wall, listening to their footsteps sink into the dark. The underground archive smelled exactly as Wei Han had promised: mold, dust, old ink, and dead soldiers. Rows of wooden shelves filled the chamber. Bamboo slips, silk scrolls, leather-bound ledgers, cracked command tablets. Most were tagged by campaign year, border region, or dead general. Lin Yao felt something loosen in her chest. Here, at least, the past had not been burned. Wei Han set the lantern on a table. Founding records are on the east wall. Guardian clans are there if they exist. Bell records, he paused, I have never seen any. Then we look for what someone wanted hidden. They searched in silence. At first, the work was ordinary and frustrating. Dust stung Lin Yao's eyes. Old ribbons broke in her hands. Half the scrolls described grain roots or horse illnesses. Wei Han moved with the efficiency of a soldier used to night campaigns, pulling records by year, checking seals, returning them without wasted motion. After an hour, Lin Yao found the first missing shelf marker. Every section had a wooden tag. Except one. Between Western Rebellion, Year 3, and Founding Emperor's Winter Campaign was a narrow gap where dust lay unevenly. Something had been removed. Wei Han crouched beside it. Recently. Lin Yao touched the shelf. No, long ago. The dust had settled, but the wood beneath was darker than the surrounding boards. Wei Han ran his fingers along the back of the shelf. There was a click. The entire shelf loosened. Behind it lay a bronze plate wrapped in oilcloth. Lin Yao's pulse quickened. Wei Han unwrapped it carefully. The plate was old, green at the edges, and covered in the same ancient script as the hairpin. But at the center was a symbol Lin Yao recognized at once. A bell hanging above 9 chains. The phoenix hairpin burned against her sleeve. Gold light spilled over the bronze plate. The ancient script rearranged itself before their eyes, becoming characters Lin Yao could read. Wei Han stepped back. What did you do? Nothing. That was the frightening part. The plate was not responding to her command. It was responding to her blood. Lin Yao read the first line aloud. When the earth mouth opens and false stars rule the court, the heavenly bell shall not accept dead blood. Wei Han's face hardened. Dead blood. Lin Yao continued, voice lower. Only the guardian who chooses life may command heaven's sound. The words seemed to strike the archive itself. Dust fell from the shelves. Somewhere far beneath the palace, the bell answered. Dong. Wei Han heard it this time. He went completely still. Lin Yao looked at him. You heard that? His hand moved to his sword. What was it? The reason Yue Kaiyan wants me dead. The lantern flame bent toward the bronze plate. More words appeared. The first guardian sealed the abyss with 9 chains. Her descendants carry the listening blood. If the false rite is completed, the bell will ring backward, and the sealed one shall wake beneath the throne. Wei Han read the line twice. Then he looked at Lin Yao, as if seeing the shape of the pit beneath both their feet. The sealed one, he said, a demon. My mother said something is buried under the capital. Your mother is dead. Yes. He did not ask how she had spoken. That was one reason Lin Yao began to respect him. Wei Han believed his own eyes before forcing the world to fit his comfort. Lin Yao reached for the bronze plate. The moment her fingers touched it, pain shot through her palm. A mark appeared on her skin. Not burned. Written. A tiny golden chain curled around her wrist, then sank beneath the flesh and vanished. Wei Han caught her arm before she fell. For a moment, the archive disappeared. Lin Yao saw the imperial furnace again. She saw herself thrown into fire. She saw Yue Kaiyan standing before the unfinished bell, with both hands raised. But this time, the vision did not end with her death. The bell formed from the flames. It rang once. Backward. The sound did not spread through the sky. It sank into the earth. Below the palace, something opened one red eye. Lin Yao gasped and returned to herself. Wei Han still held her arm. Princess. His voice sounded far away. Lin Yao pulled free. The ceremony cannot happen. Then we tell the emperor. She laughed once bitterly. With what proof? A hidden plate from your archive, my dead mother's voice, a bell only we heard after touching forbidden bronze. He is your father. He signed my death once. The words came out before she could stop them. Wei Han stared at her. Silence filled the archive. Too late, Lin Yao realized what she had said. Not he would sign. He signed. Wei Han's face changed. Questions gathered behind his eyes. Before he could ask them, footsteps sounded above the stairway. Many footsteps. Armor. Wei Han extinguished the lantern. Darkness swallowed the archive. A voice called from above. By order of Imperial Astrologer Yue, search the Western Drill Hall. The 17th princess is suspected of disturbing sacred rites. Lin Yao closed her hand around the phoenix hairpin. Yue Kaiyan had moved. And this time, he had moved directly against her. Chapter 6, Banished to the Cold Palace. The soldiers reached the archive stairway faster than Lin Yao expected. Yue Kaiyan's people had come prepared. Not with the lazy confidence of guards sent to frighten a weak princess. With nets. With talismans. With spirit-binding ropes used for criminals who practiced forbidden arts. Lin Yao watched the first torchlight spill down the stairs and understood something important. Yue Kaiyan was no longer testing her. He had decided she was dangerous. Wei Han moved in front of her. The gesture was simple. Almost thoughtless, Lin Yao noticed anyway. In her first life, no one had stepped between her and imperial orders. Not once. There are 12, Wei Han whispered. Can you defeat them? Yes. Without killing them. He paused. Lin Yao looked at him. Wei Han exhaled through his nose. You ask difficult favors. Dead soldiers become evidence. Bruised soldiers become confusion. You sound like you have done this before. Lin Yao looked toward the torchlight. I died from not doing it. The first guard stepped into the archive. Wei Han struck him with the flat of his blade. The man dropped without a sound. Then the archive became a storm. Wei Han moved like black lightning between the shelves. He broke wrists, kicked knees, cut torch handles, and used the darkness better than the soldiers used light. Lin Yao stayed low, pulling scroll racks down to block the side passages. Asu was not there to tremble for her, so Lin Yao allowed herself no trembling at all. One soldier threw a spirit-binding rope. It wrapped around Lin Yao's wrist. Pain flashed up her arm. The golden chain mark beneath her skin answered. For one breath, Lin Yao heard the bell. Not from below. From inside her own blood. Dong! The rope burned apart. The soldier stared at the ashes in his hands. Lin Yao stared too. Wei Han saw it. So did the 2 remaining guards. That was bad. Very bad. Witnesses could be confused. Miracles could not. Lin Yao grabbed the bronze plate from the table and shoved it into Wei Han's hands. Hide this. Princess. Now. He hesitated only a fraction before sliding the plate beneath his armor. Then Lin Yao stepped into the torchlight. Stop. Her voice was not loud. But the remaining soldiers obeyed. Perhaps because they remembered she was still an imperial princess. Perhaps because the burned rope had frightened them more than a shout would have. Lin Yao raised both hands. You were ordered to find me. You have found me. Wei Han's eyes sharpened. What are you doing? Preventing your second treason charge today. The soldiers looked between them. Lin Yao continued. General Wei discovered me entering the archive and attempted to persuade me to return. In my panic, I knocked over shelves and resisted imperial search. He is not involved. One guard swallowed. Your Highness, Astrologer Yue ordered us to bring you before the Emperor. Then bring me. Wei Han took one step toward her. Lin Yao did not look back. If she did, she might ask him to fight. And if he fought, Yue Kaiyan would gain exactly what he wanted. Proof that the unlucky princess had seduced a border general into rebellion. Lin Yao had changed one tragedy today. She would not create another before sunrise. The guards bound her hands with ordinary rope this time. It did not burn. That almost made her laugh. Even the bell seemed to understand strategy. They dragged her through the western drill hall and across the sleeping palace. By then, dawn had begun to gray the sky. Servants paused in corridors, guards pretended not to stare, rumor woke faster than the sun. The 17th princess had been found in a military archive. The unlucky princess had burned a spirit rope. The cursed princess had conspired with General Wei. The court did not need facts. It had hunger, and Yue Kaiyan knew exactly what to feed it. The emperor received her in the hall of quiet governance. He was not wearing court robes, only a dark outer garment thrown over white sleeping clothes. That small sign of disorder told Lin Yao he had been woken suddenly. Yue Kaiyan stood to his right, perfectly dressed, perfectly calm. Prince Rui stood to his left, face full of brotherly concern. Lin Yao knelt on the cold floor. No one told her to rise. The emperor looked at the rope around her wrists. For a moment, something moved across his face. Guilt. Memory. Fear. Then it vanished. Lin Yao, he said, why were you in the Western military archive? In her first life, his voice had always made her shrink. Tonight, it made her tired. This daughter was frightened after the spirit lamp omen, she said. I heard rumors that old military records mentioned protective rights. I entered without permission. Yue Kaiyan sighed softly. Your Majesty, the princess is young. Fear can mislead the heart, but sacred matters cannot be treated lightly. Last night, she predicted the black spirit lamp. Tonight, she entered a military archive. Soldiers witnessed a binding rope burn from her wrist. Prince Rui lowered his eyes. Little 17th, if someone is instructing you, you must say so now. Father Emperor can still protect you. Protect? Lin Yao almost looked at him. Almost smiled. Prince Rui used gentle words, the way assassins used quiet shoes. The Emperor's gaze sharpened. Is someone instructing you? Lin Yao bowed lower. No. Did General Wei know why you entered the archive? No. Yue Kaiyan's eyes remained mild, yet the general was found with you. Because he followed me. Why would he follow you? Lin Yao lifted her head. Because I am an imperial princess walking alone near a military archive at night. Should a loyal general ignore that? Silence. It was a small answer, but a useful one. To accuse Wei Han now, Yue Kaiyan would have to argue that a general should have abandoned a princess to wander restricted grounds alone. The emperor leaned back slightly. Prince Rui's fingers tightened inside his sleeves. Yue Kaiyan adjusted smoothly. Then General Wei's loyalty is not in question. But your majesty, the princess herself, is clearly entangled with forces she does not understand. The black spirit lamp leaned toward her. The binding rope burned. Her mother's sealed palace was found open before dawn. The emperor's face darkened. There it was. Consort Ming. The name no one wanted to speak. Lin Yao felt the phoenix hairpin hidden inside her sleeve. The guards had taken her visible ornaments, but they had missed the hairpin because it had turned cold and plain again, nothing more than a cheap piece of pale jade. Yue Kaiyan continued. This humble servant fears the princess has inherited more than Her Highness Consort Ming's blood. The emperor stood. Enough. The hall went silent. For one heartbeat, Lin Yao thought he was angry on her behalf. Then she saw his eyes. He was not defending her. He was afraid of hearing more. The emperor walked down from the dais and stopped before Lin Yao. He looked older up close than he had at the feast, lines cut deep beside his mouth. His eyes were shadowed from years of poor sleep. In her first life, Lin Yao had thought him heartless. Now she wondered if fear could hollow a person so completely that the empty space looked like cruelty. Did you hear something? He asked suddenly. Yue Kaiyan looked up. Prince Rui also looked at the emperor. Lin Yao's breath caught. The question was too quiet for the hall. Too personal. Did you hear something? Not did you do something. Not did you see something. Here. The emperor knew. Maybe not everything. But he knew the bell could call. Lin Yao raised her eyes to her father. This was the moment. She could tell him. She could say the bell was a lock. She could say Yue Kaiyan served the thing beneath the capital. She could say Consort Ming had tried to warn her. Then she looked past him and saw Yue Kaiyan watching. Not nervous. Interested. As if he wanted her to speak. Lin Yao's mouth went dry. If she revealed too much now, Yue Kaiyan would know exactly what she knew. Worse, if the emperor was still too afraid to choose her, every truth would become another chain around her throat. So Lin Yao lowered her head. This daughter heard only the court's fear. The emperor stared at her. Something like disappointment passed through his eyes. Good. Let him be disappointed. Disappointment meant he had hoped for another answer. Hope could be used later. Yue Kaiyan bowed. Your Majesty, for the princess's safety and the dynasty's peace, she should be removed from ritual matters until the star charts are cleansed. Prince Rui said gently, the cold palace is isolated and guarded. Little 17th can rest there without further disturbance. The cold palace. A place for discarded consorts, disgraced concubines, and imperial women the court wanted alive but forgotten. Asu would not be allowed to follow. Her servants would be changed. Her food would be watched. Her movements would be locked behind old walls. In her first life, confinement had terrified her. Now Lin Yao felt the phoenix hairpin grow warm against her wrist. Beneath the cold palace were the oldest foundations in the imperial city. Consort Ming's vision had shown 9 chains stretching into the earth. If Yue Kaiyan wanted her far from the court, perhaps he was also sending her closer to the truth. The emperor returned to the dais. His voice filled the hall. 17th Princess Lin Yao disturbed sacred rites, entered a military archive without permission, and opened a sealed palace of the dead. By imperial order, she is confined to the cold palace for reflection. No visitors without written permission. No ritual attendance. No communication with military officials. Prince Rui lowered his head to hide his satisfaction. Yue Kaiyan smiled faintly. Lin Yao bowed until her forehead touched the floor. This daughter obeys. But inside her sleeve, the phoenix hairpin pulsed once. Dong. Not below the palace. Not inside her blood. Ahead. From the direction of the cold palace. Lin Yao closed her eyes. For the first time since her rebirth, she almost wanted to thank Yue Kaiyan. He thought he was locking her away. Instead, he had opened the next door. By sunset, Lin Yao entered the cold palace with 2 guards behind her and nothing in her hands. The gates shut with a heavy sound. The courtyard beyond was bare. Dead weeds grew between cracked stones. The rooms smelled of damp wood and old sorrow. Somewhere in the distance, a woman laughed once, then began to sob. This was where the empire buried women without killing them. Lin Yao stood alone in the courtyard until the guards left. Then she took the phoenix hairpin from her sleeve and held it toward the ground. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then every crack between the stones filled with golden light. A hidden pattern spread across the courtyard floor. 9 chains. 1 bell. And beneath Lin Yao's feet, something vast and ancient breathed in the dark. Chapter 7, The Emperor's Fear. The cold palace did not sleep. It only pretended to. At night, the wind moved through broken windows and made the old wooden beams sigh like tired women. Somewhere beyond the courtyard wall, a mad concubine sang half of a lullaby, forgot the ending, and began again. Rats scratched behind the kitchen stones. Rainwater dripped into empty jars with the patience of a clock. Lin Yao sat alone in the main room, listening to all of it. She had been given 1 thin blanket, 1 cracked lamp, and 1 bowl of rice that smelled faintly sour. In her first life, such treatment would have humiliated her. Now it almost made her laugh. The court still thought comfort was power. They had forgotten that secrets preferred cold places. The phoenix hairpin lay on the floor before her. Its pale jade body glowed softly, responding to the pattern hidden beneath the courtyard stones. Earlier, when Lin Yao had held it toward the ground, golden lines had spread through every crack like water finding old riverbeds. 9 chains. 1 bell. And below the cold palace, something breathing. Not asleep. Waiting. Lin Yao had spent the first half of the night testing the courtyard. The pattern appeared only when her blood touched the hairpin. It vanished when guards passed near the gate. The 9 chains all pointed inward, toward a dry well behind the abandoned kitchen. The well had been covered with an iron plate. The plate had no lock. That was how Lin Yao knew it was dangerous. Things with locks were meant to be opened by the right key. Things without locks were meant to be feared by everyone. She had not moved it yet. Not because she lacked courage. Because courage without information was only another kind of suicide. Lin Yao rubbed the golden chain mark hidden beneath her sleeve. The mark had not returned to the surface since the archive, but she could feel it now and then, tightening around her wrist whenever the buried bell stirred. She was connected to it. She still did not know whether that made her chosen or trapped. Near the second watch, footsteps stopped outside her door. Not guards. The guards stomped. These footsteps were careful. Measured. Heavy with habit. Lin Yao opened her eyes. The door slid aside. Emperor Shen entered without announcing himself. He wore a dark cloak over plain robes. No crown, no attendants, no eunuchs carrying lanterns. Only 1 old shadow guard remained outside the door, then withdrew into the rain. For a moment, father and daughter looked at each other across the ruined room. The emperor's gaze moved from the cracked lamp to the thin blanket to the untouched rice. Something tightened in his jaw. You have not eaten. Lin Yao almost laughed again. That was what he chose to say. Not why did you enter the archive? Not what did you hear? Not why does the cold palace answer your blood? You have not eaten. In another life, that small concern might have broken her heart. In this one, her heart had already burned. Lin Yao bowed from where she sat. This daughter thanks Father Emperor for visiting. There is no need for ceremony. He looked around the room, as if seeing the cold palace for the first time. Maybe he was. Rulers sent people places all the time, without knowing what those places did to them. Leave us, he said. The shadow guard outside closed the door. Rain whispered against the roof. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Emperor Shen asked the same question he had asked in the Hall of Quiet Governance. Did you hear something? This time, there was no court to perform for. No Yue Kaiyan pretending humility. No Prince Rui smiling like silk over a blade. Only the Emperor, the princess he had nearly lost once without knowing it, and the secret breathing under the stones. Lin Yao looked at her father carefully. He seemed taller from a distance, smaller up close. Not weak, never weak, but worn down like a sword sharpened so many times the blade had thinned. What do you think I heard? She asked. His eyes darkened. Do not answer a question with a question. Then do not ask one you already know the answer to. The Emperor's face went still. In her first life, Lin Yao would have thrown herself to the ground and begged forgiveness for that tone. This time, she did not lower her eyes. She was tired of being the only one afraid. Emperor Shen took one step closer. You sound like your mother. The words struck harder than Lin Yao expected. Her fingers tightened against her sleeve. Then perhaps Father Emperor should have listened to her. Silence. The rain grew louder. For one moment, real anger flashed across the Emperor's face. Then it collapsed into something older and heavier. I did, he said. Lin Yao stopped breathing. The Emperor looked toward the covered window. Not enough, not soon enough, but I did. Lin Yao rose slowly. What happened to my mother? Emperor Shen closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he looked not like an emperor, but like a man standing before a grave he had ordered sealed. Your mother came to me 18 years ago, he said. Before you were born, she said the heavenly bell was not an imperial treasure. She said it was part of an ancient seal. She said the star charts in the astronomical bureau had been altered. Lin Yao felt the room tilt slightly. By Yue Kaiyan. He was not yet imperial astrologer, only a young star reader then. Brilliant, humble, trusted by everyone. And you believed him instead of her. The Emperor's mouth tightened. I believed what I wanted to be true. That answer was worse than a denial. Because it sounded honest. Lin Yao hated him more for it. Unless. Both feelings sat inside her like two knives, pointed in opposite directions. The Emperor continued, the dynasty was unstable. The western border had rebelled. The treasury was empty. Your elder brother's factions were already forming. Then the star charts predicted that a child born under an eclipse would bring disaster to the Shen bloodline. Me? He did not answer. He did not need to. Lin Yao smiled faintly. And when I was born during an eclipse, Mother became a liar and Yue Kaiyan became useful. The Emperor flinched. It was small, but Lin Yao saw it. Your mother refused to surrender you to the astronomical bureau, he said. She took you from the birthing chamber and hid beneath the old palace foundations. For 3 days, no one found her. Lin Yao had no memory of this. She had been a newborn. A curse wrapped in silk, apparently. What happened after 3 days? The Emperor's gaze dropped to her sleeve. Did he know about the hairpin? She returned, he said, with white hair. Lin Yao's chest tightened. White. All of it, as if 30 years had passed underground. She said she had bought time. She said the bell would not answer until you were old enough to choose. Choose. The word echoed with the bronze plate's inscription. Only the guardian who chooses life may command heaven's sound. Then why was her palace sealed? The Emperor looked away. That was answer enough. Lin Yao's voice turned cold. What did Yue Kaiyan tell you? That your mother had practiced forbidden rites, that she had tied your fate to the bell. that if she was allowed to continue, the capital would fall before you reached adulthood. So you imprisoned her. I confined her. That is what emperors call imprisonment when they do not want to hear chains. His face hardened. You know nothing of ruling. And you know nothing of being sacrificed. The words left her mouth like an arrow. The emperor stared at her. Too late, Lin Yao realized she had said too much again. But this time, she did not take it back. The room seemed to grow colder. What did you say? He asked. Lin Yao met his eyes. If she told him now, would he believe her? Would he kneel and beg forgiveness? Would he call the guards? Would he run to Awaken, because terror had trained him better than love ever could? The phoenix hairpin pulsed against her wrist. Not warning. Waiting. Lin Yao said, I said I know enough about sacrifice to fear men who speak of heaven too easily. The emperor held her gaze for a long time. Then he reached into his cloak and placed a folded paper on the table. Your mother left this for you. Lin Yao did not move. Why give it to me now? Because last night, after the black spirit lamp changed, I heard the bell for the first time in 10 years. Lin Yao's heartbeat slowed. The emperor's voice dropped. And it sounded angry. He turned to leave. Lin Yao spoke before the door opened. Father Emperor. He stopped. If Awaken tells you the bell demands my blood, what will you do? The question filled the room. It carried 3 years of fire, 1 lifetime of silence, and every version of Lin Yao who had ever wanted her father to choose her. Emperor Shen did not turn around. That was when Lin Yao knew she would hate his answer. I will do what I must to preserve the dynasty. Then he left. The door closed softly behind him. No shouted order. No dramatic betrayal. Only the quiet sound of a father failing his daughter in advance. Lin Yao stood motionless until his footsteps disappeared. Then she picked up the folded paper. The seal was Consort Ming's. Inside were only 7 words. Trust the bell. Do not trust the throne. Lin Yao read them once. Twice. Then the floor outside cracked with golden light. At the same moment, a horn sounded from the inner palace. Not a ritual horn. An alarm. Someone had found evidence of forbidden witchcraft in Lin Yao's former rooms. And by sunrise, the entire court would gather to judge the unlucky princess. Chapter 8, The Trial of the Unlucky Princess. By morning, the palace had already decided Lin Yao was guilty. The trial was only decoration. The hall of imperial judgment had not been opened for a princess in 30 years. Its doors were blackwood plated with bronze. Its pillars were carved with dragons descending through clouds, each dragon's eyes painted red to remind criminals that the dynasty saw everything. Lin Yao was brought through those doors with guards on both sides. This time, they did not bind her. That was not mercy. It was theater. A bound princess looked pitiful. An unbound princess looked dangerous by choice. The court had learned quickly. Ministers stood in 2 long rows. The empress sat behind a pearl curtain. Prince Rui stood near the front in pale robes, his face grave with practiced sorrow. Awaken stood beside a table covered in evidence. The emperor sat above them all. He looked at Lin Yao once. Only once. Then his face became the face of the throne. Lin Yao knelt in the center of the hall. The floor beneath her was cold enough to bite through her robes. Awaken stepped forward. Your Majesty, honored ministers, this humble servant did not wish matters to reach this point. Princess Lin Yao is young and perhaps misled, but the safety of the dynasty stands above private feeling. Private feeling. Lin Yao almost admired him. He could turn a father's failure into moral discipline with 3 words. Awaken lifted his hand. 2 eunuchs carried forward a wooden tray. On it lay blackened paper charms, a small bone needle, a strip of cloth stained with old blood, and a cracked clay figure with the emperor's birth characters written across its chest. The hall filled with whispers. Lin Yao stared at the objects. She had never seen them before. That did not matter. They had been found in her rooms. So they belonged to her now. Awaken said, These objects were discovered beneath the princess's sleeping platform in her former residence. The writing matches forbidden curse formerly used to damage imperial fortune. Minister Cao stepped forward immediately. A curse against His Majesty. Prince Rui closed his eyes as if in pain. "Little 17th," he said softly, "why would you do this?" Lin Yao looked at him. "Elder brother asks, as if he has already decided I did." His expression flickered. "Only slightly." "Good. Let the court see the silk wrinkle." Yue Kaiyan raised the cracked clay figure. "Your Highness, do you deny these were found in your palace?" "No." The ministers stirred. Yue Kaiyan's eyes sharpened. Lin Yao continued, "I deny putting them there." "Then who did?" "The person who wished them found." A few ministers frowned. Yue Kaiyan sighed. "Such vague accusations cannot clear a charge of witchcraft." "Then let us be specific." Lin Yao rose without permission. The guards moved, but the emperor lifted one hand. They stopped. Lin Yao looked at the evidence table. "If these objects were hidden beneath my sleeping platform, they were placed there after I left for the cold palace. I was escorted from my residence under guard yesterday. My rooms were sealed by palace order. The seal should still show who opened it." Yue Kaiyan smiled faintly. "Indeed, the seal was opened by order of the inner palace matron during the lawful search. Before the search, was it intact?" "Naturally." "Who verified that?" Yue Kaiyan paused. "Not long. But long enough." Lin Yao turned to the emperor. "Father Emperor, may the palace seal record be brought." Prince Rui stepped forward. "Little 17th, this is not the time for clever delay." "Then elder brother should welcome speed. Bring the record." The emperor's gaze moved from Lin Yao to Yue Kaiyan. "Bring it." For the first time that morning, the court felt a shift. Small. Dangerous. Like ice cracking under a foot. While a eunuch ran for the seal record, Yue Kaiyan changed direction. Even if the princess disputes the objects, other signs remain. The spirit lamp turned black and leaned toward her. A binding rope burned from her wrist. Her mother's sealed palace was found open. Last night, golden light was seen beneath the cold palace stones. That last sentence hit the hall like a thrown blade. Lin Yao's face did not change. Inside, she went still. Yue Kaiyan had spies in the cold palace already. Of course he did. She had expected guards, watchers, poison perhaps. But not someone close enough to see the golden cracks. Which meant he might know about the dry well. Lin Yao had to move the trial away from the cold palace immediately. She looked at the spirit lamp placed near the evidence table. Not the great ceremonial lamp from the feast. A smaller court lamp, blue-flamed and gold-rimmed, used to test spiritual contamination. In her first life, Yue Kaiyan had used such lamps often. He liked tools that appeared impartial while obeying his hands. "Astrologer Yue," Lin Yao said, "if the lamp can show contamination, why not test the evidence?" Yue Kaiyan's expression remained kind. "It has already been tested." "By you." "By the Astronomical Bureau." "Which obeys you." The ministers inhaled sharply. Prince Rui's voice cooled. 17th sister, mind your words." Lin Yao ignored him. "Let the lamp test everything in front of the court. If the curse objects carry my qi, I will confess." Yue Kaiyan looked at her for one long moment. Then he smiled. "As your highness wishes." That smile told Lin Yao the test was prepared. Good. Prepared traps had edges. Edges could be turned. Yue Kaiyan placed the blackened charms near the lamp. The blue flame trembled. Then it leaned toward Lin Yao. The court erupted again. Cursed. She really practiced forbidden arts. The omen was true. Yue Kaiyan lifted both hands for silence. Your Majesty, heaven has shown. Not heaven, Lin Yao said. Her voice cut through the hall. She walked toward the lamp. The guards reached for their swords. The emperor did not stop her. Perhaps curiosity had overcome fear. Perhaps guilt had. Either was useful. Lin Yao stopped before the evidence table. The blue flame leaned toward her so sharply it almost touched the rim. She looked at Yue Kaiyan. You made one mistake. His smile did not move. And what is that? You forgot that curse objects do not only remember the victim. Lin Yao picked up the strip of blood-stained cloth. A murmur went through the ministers. They remember the hands that fed them. Before Yue Kaiyan could respond, Lin Yao pressed the cloth against the spirit lamp's golden base. The flame turned black, then red. Then it pulled away from Lin Yao and bent toward the evidence table. No, not the evidence table. Toward Yue Kaiyan's white jade tablet. The hall fell so silent Lin Yao could hear the pearl curtains swaying near the empress. Yue Kaiyan's fingers closed around the tablet. Too late. The red flame stretched toward it like a tongue tasting blood. Lin Yao said, "What a strange lamp. It seems less interested in the unlucky princess than in astrologer Yue's personal jade." Minister Cao took a step back. The emperor leaned forward. Prince Rui's face went blank. Yue Kaiyan remained calm. That frightened Lin Yao more than panic would have. He bowed. "Your Majesty, my jade tablet has conducted thousands of rites. Naturally, it has absorbed traces of many spiritual disturbances." Reasonable. Smooth. Expected. Lin Yao had no proof to finish him yet. But she did not need to finish him today. She needed the court to see him bleed. Then the palace seal record arrived. The eunuch knelt and lifted the scroll above his head. The chief steward read it aloud. The seal on Lin Yao's residence had been checked at dawn. It was not intact. It had been opened during the second watch, hours before the lawful search. By whose token? The chief steward hesitated. The emperor's voice sharpened. Read. The old steward swallowed. By the access token of His Highness Prince Rui's Eastern Steward. Every eye turned. Prince Rui's expression changed perfectly. Shock. Hurt. Disbelief. He truly was talented. Impossible, he said. Yue Kaiyan closed his eyes for half a heartbeat. Lin Yao saw it. He had not wanted Rui named this early. Interesting. Perhaps Prince Rui was not only Yue Kaiyan's partner. Perhaps he was also a piece Yue Kaiyan preferred to keep hidden. The emperor stood. Bring the steward. No one moved. That told everyone the answer before it was spoken. The steward was dead. Found hanged in his quarters before dawn. His suicide note confessed to planting the objects out of personal hatred for the 17th princess. How convenient. How clean. How insulting. Prince Rui looked wounded. I failed to govern my household. I accept punishment. Minister Cao immediately knelt. Your Majesty, His Highness was deceived by a wicked servant. Others followed. Of course they did. Prince Rui was too valuable to blame. Lin Yao was too easy. But Yue Kaiyan's jade tablet had drawn red flame. Prince Rui's steward had broken the seal. The trial had not freed her, but it had changed the court's certainty into discomfort. And discomfort was a crack. Then General Wei Han stepped into the hall. He had not been summoned. Gasps followed him like wind. Wei Han walked to the center aisle, knelt on one knee, and lifted a sealed military report. Your Majesty, this general requests permission to submit evidence. Prince Rui's eyes hardened. Yue Kaiyan looked at Wei Han, then at Lin Yao. Lin Yao kept her face still. She had not asked Wei Han to come, which meant he had chosen this risk himself. The emperor said, Speak. Wei Han raised the report. The clerk who forged evidence against my family confessed that the same network was ordered to create curse objects connected to the 17th princess. The payment came from spirit jade issued through a private astronomical bureau account. The hall exploded. Yue Kaiyan's calm finally thinned. Only a little. But enough. Prince Rui turned to him sharply. There. Lin Yao saw it. Not alliance. Dependence. Prince Rui did not fear exposure. He feared Yue Kaiyan failing to control it. The emperor shouted for silence. Wei Han remained kneeling. I request a full investigation. Yue Kaiyan bowed deeply. This humble servant welcomes investigation. If corruption exists in the Astronomical Bureau, I will personally cleanse it. He had already prepared a layer to sacrifice. Lin Yao knew it. Wei Han knew it. Even the emperor likely knew it. But politics loved layers. They let powerful men wash blood from their hands with other people's bodies. The emperor looked at Lin Yao. For a moment, she saw the father from the cold palace again. The one who had almost hoped. Until the investigation ends, he said, Princess Lin Yao will remain confined, but the charge of witchcraft is suspended. Suspended. Not cleared. Not believed. Still, Lin Yao bowed. This daughter thanks Father Emperor. As guards escorted her from the hall, she passed Wei Han. He did not look at her. But his hand rested briefly against his armor, where the bronze plate was hidden. Lin Yao understood. He still had it. And if Yue Qian wanted it back, he would have to come through a general who no longer believed the court's lies. For the first time since her rebirth, Lin Yao was not walking out of judgment alone. But behind the pearl curtain, Prince Rui watched her leave. His gentle mask was gone. In its place was something colder. Something hungry. And beneath his collar, hidden from everyone but the lamp's dying red reflection, a dark mark pulsed once against his skin. Chapter 9, The Prince Beneath the Mask. Prince Rui killed the steward himself. Lin Yao learned this before sunset. Not from Wei Han. Not from a spy. From the dead steward. The cold palace had many forgotten rooms. Some were locked. Some were empty. Some only looked empty because the women who had once lived in them had become better at hiding than the court had been at searching. After the trial, Lin Yao was returned to the cold palace under heavier guard. The outer gate gained 2 additional soldiers. The roofline gained watchers. A new maid arrived with blank eyes and hands too smooth for servant work. Yue Qian's spy. Lin Yao named her Lan and sent her to scrub the kitchen stones. Bad spies hated boring work. Good spies accepted it. Lan accepted it. That made her dangerous. So Lin Yao gave her exactly what she wanted. A princess who appeared exhausted, shaken, and too frightened to touch the glowing courtyard again. Then, when night fell, Lin Yao opened the floor beneath her bed. The old palaces were full of hidden passages. Most had been sealed after concubines used them for affairs, escapes, or murders. But the cold palace was older than the rules that tried to contain it. The phoenix hairpin found what maps could not. It led Lin Yao through a crawlspace beneath the western wall, down a broken stair, and into a narrow room filled with paper tablets. Not memorial tablets. Records. Names of women buried inside the cold palace without funeral rites. Names the dynasty had erased. Lin Yao stood among them with a lamp in one hand and felt, for the first time, that she was not the only ghost still breathing. Then one paper tablet moved. It slid forward on its own and fell at her feet. The name writ on it was not a woman of the cold palace. It was Eastern Steward Gao, Prince Rui's dead servant. The ink was still wet. Lin Yao picked up the tablet. The moment her fingers touched the paper, the room changed. She saw a small chamber lit by one candle. Steward Gao knelt on the floor, shaking. Prince Rui stood before him in white robes. "Your Highness," Gao whispered, "I did as ordered. I opened the princess's residence. I placed the objects. I wrote the note as Master Yue instructed. Please, my family." Prince Rui touched his shoulder gently. "You have served me well." Gao began to sob with relief. Then Prince Rui's fingers tightened. Black veins spread from his hand into Gao's neck. The steward's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Prince Rui watched him die with the same kind expression he used when comforting frightened sisters. When it was done, he hung the body from a beam and placed the suicide note beneath the table. Then he turned toward the vision. Toward Lin Yao. For one impossible moment, it felt as if he could see her through the dead man's memory. His eyes were no longer gentle. They were red at the edges. 17th sister, he said softly. The vision shattered. Lin Yao stumbled back, clutching the paper tablet. Her breath came hard. Prince Rui was not merely ambitious. He was touched by the thing beneath the capital. Or born from it. The distinction suddenly felt less important than the danger. Lin Yao turned to leave the hidden room. Lan stood in the doorway. The spy held a short blade. Her blank expression was gone. "Your Highness," she said, "you should have stayed frightened." Lin Yao looked at the knife, then at the narrow space between them. No sword. No Weihan. No bell chamber inscriptions to protect her. Only a lamp, a hairpin, and a room full of names the dynasty had forgot. Lan attacked. She was fast. Faster than the assassins in Consort Ming's palace. Lin Yao threw the lamp. Oil and flame struck the floor between them. Lan twisted aside, but the delay was enough. Lin Yao slammed her palm against the nearest shelf of paper tablets. "If any of you still hate the palace," she said, "now would be a good time." For one breath, nothing happened. Lan smiled. Then every paper tablet in the room turned toward her. The air filled with whispers. Not one voice. Hundreds. Women who had died nameless. Women who had swallowed poison in silk rooms. Women who had frozen through winter because no one repaired their roofs. Women who had given birth to princes and been erased by empresses. Women who had gone mad from waiting for footsteps that never came. Their hatred rose like smoke. Lan's smile vanished. The blade in her hand rusted black. Lin Yao did not wait. She ran through the doorway as the paper tablets flew from the shelves behind her. Lan screamed once. Then the hidden room door slammed shut. Lin Yao emerged in the crawlspace, scraped, breathless, and shaking. For a moment, she stayed on her hands and knees in the dark. Then she began to laugh. Softly. Not because anything was funny. Because she had asked the ghosts of the cold palace for help, and they had answered faster than her father ever had. When she returned to her room, Lan was already there. Standing beside the bed. Perfectly unharmed. Lin Yao froze. Lan turned. Her eyes were blank again. "Princess," she said, "you should rest, you look pale." Lin Yao looked at her hands. No ash. No blood. No sign she had held a blade. Not Lan. Something wearing Lan. The thing beneath the capital was not only sealed in stone. It could reach upward through people already hollowed by fear, greed, or loyalty. Lin Yao walked to the table and sat down as if nothing had happened. "Bring tea." Lan bowed, "Yes, Your Highness." When she left, Lin Yao slid the paper tablet from her sleeve. The name Eastern Steward Gao had vanished. In its place were 3 lines of ancient script. The phoenix hairpin translated them in gold. The demon blood hides in the dragon branch. The false prince carries the opened vein. Find the map before the 9th bell. Lin Yao read the lines until they burned behind her eyes. The dragon branch. The imperial bloodline. The false prince. Prince Rui. And the 9th bell. Yue Kaiyan was planning something sooner than the furnace ceremony. She needed the map. There was only one place a forbidden map tied to the founding seal would be kept. The palace archives. Not the military archive beneath Wei Han's drill hall. The imperial archive inside the Hall of Ancestral Records. Guarded by eunuchs, priests, ancestral tablets, and imperial law. Impossible for a confined princess to enter. Fortunately, Lin Yao was no longer relying only on herself. At the 3rd watch, a pebble struck her window. Once. Twice. 3 times. Lin Yao opened it. Wei Han crouched on the roof edge outside, rain darkening his cloak. "You are difficult to visit," he said. "You are forbidden to communicate with me." "Yes. And yet. I brought the bronze plate." He dropped lightly into the room. For one ridiculous moment, Lin Yao thought that if Su were here, she would faint from scandal before fear. Wei Han unwrapped the bronze plate and set it on the table. The phoenix hairpin glowed at once. So did the paper tablet. Wei Han looked at it. "Where did you get that?" "From a dead man." He paused. "I have learned to dislike your short answers." Prince Rui killed his own steward. Wei Han's expression hardened. "Can you prove it?" "Not in a way the court will accept." "Then we need something stronger." "A map." Lin Yao pointed to the translated lines. Wei Han read them in silence. When he reached the words false prince, his jaw tightened. If Prince Rui carries demon blood, accusing him without proof will get you killed. That is why we are stealing proof first. From where? The Hall of Ancestral Records. Wei Han stared at her. Princess. General. That hall is guarded by ancestral law. Is ancestral law good with a sword? No. Then I prefer your chances. He rubbed his forehead like a man beginning to regret every decision that had led him to this room. But he did not refuse. They left before dawn through the cold palace roofline. Wei Han moved first, then reached back to help Lin Yao across the tiles. The palace below slept uneasily. Torches burned near every gate. Patrols moved in pairs. Somewhere in the distance, the astronomical bureau's tower glowed with unnatural blue light. Yue Qian was awake. Good. Let him be tired too. The Hall of Ancestral Records stood behind the Emperor's private temple. Its doors were sealed with 3 locks, 1 physical, 1 spiritual, and 1 bloodline. Wei Han handled the physical lock with a soldier's knife and surprising delicacy. Lin Yao handled the spiritual seal with the phoenix hairpin. The bloodline lock opened when she pressed her thumb to the bronze ring. Wei Han looked at her. Imperial blood has uses, she said. I did not comment. Your face did. Inside, thousands of ancestral tablets lined the walls. Lin Yao felt their attention immediately. The dead emperors of the Shen Dynasty did not speak. They judged. She ignored them. Living emperors had disappointed her enough. She had no energy left for dead ones. The forbidden maps were stored beneath the founding emperor's tablet. Wei Han lifted the stone base, while Lin Yao held the hairpin over the hidden compartment. There were 7 scrolls inside. 6 were border maps. The 7th was black. Not painted black. Made from some dark material that drank the lantern light. The moment Lin Yao touched it, the heavenly bell rang beneath the capital. Loud enough that Wei Han staggered. The ancestral tablets trembled. The black scroll unrolled by itself. It showed the imperial capital from above. But beneath the palace was another shape. A heart. Huge. Chained by 9 lines of gold. At the center of the heart was written one name. Not in modern script. Not in ancient court script. In a language Lin Yao somehow understood anyway. Demon ancestor Luo. Wei Han whispered, "Heaven preserve us." Then the map changed. 9 points around the capital began to glow red. One by one. Like bells being lit in darkness. Lin Yao's blood turned cold. The 9th bell, she said. Wei Han looked at the map. What happens when all 9 turn red? The answer came from behind them. The capital dreams. Lin Yao turned. Prince Rui stood at the entrance of the ancestral hall, smiling gently. His eyes were red at the edges. Behind him, Yue Qian stepped from the shadows with his white jade tablet in hand. And when the capital dreams, Yue Qian said, the seal finally weakens. Chapter 10, The Night of 9 Bells. For one breath, no one moved. The Hall of Ancestral Records held its silence like a blade at the throat. Lin Yao stood beside the unrolled black map, one hand still touching the edge of the scroll. Wei Han stood slightly in front of her, sword half drawn. Across the hall, Prince Rui smiled as if he had walked in on a private family gathering rather than a forbidden theft beneath the eyes of dead emperors. Yue Qian stood behind him with the white jade tablet in hand. The tablet glowed red. Not the clean red of cinnabar seals or festival lanterns. A wet red. Living. Hungry. On the map, 9 points around the capital burned brighter. 3 were already crimson. 6 still pulsed faintly, waiting. Lin Yao understood at once. The furnace ceremony had never been Yue Qian's only plan. It was the final plan. The public one. The one that would let the court say, heaven demanded a princess. But before the court could be persuaded to feed her to the fire, the seal beneath the capital had to be weakened. The people had to be frightened. The emperor had to feel the dynasty cracking under his feet. Then Yue Qian would offer a cure. He would always offer a cure. That was how poison entered palaces. Prince Rui looked at the map with mild interest. You found it faster than expected. Lin Yao's gaze moved to the dark mark, pulsing beneath his collar. You killed Steward Gao. He sighed as if she had mentioned an embarrassing household matter. He was already dead the moment he failed. He trusted you. Many people do. The honesty of it was uglier than a lie. Wei Han's sword left its sheath fully. Yue Kaiyan lifted one finger. General Wei, I advise restraint. This is the Hall of Ancestral Records. Drawing blood here would offend the founding emperor. Wei Han's voice was cold. Then he may close his eyes. Lin Yao almost smiled. Almost. Then the fourth point on the map turned red. Outside the hall, somewhere far across the capital, a bell rang. It was not the heavenly bell. The sound was thinner. Wrong. Like bronze cast around a scream. The ancestral tablets trembled. Lin Yao's stomach turned. Yue Kaiyan watched her reaction with satisfaction. False bells, she said. Echo vessels, Yue Kaiyan corrected gently. Crude compared with the true bell, but useful. The capital is old. So much fear, grief, resentment, ambition. A city dreams even when its people are awake. One only needs to teach the dream what shape to take. The fifth point turned red. Another bell rang. This one closer. From beyond, the palace walls came a sudden wave of shouting. Not soldiers. Citizens. Lin Yao saw it through the map before any messenger could arrive. The capital below the palace flickered into ghostly lines. Streets appeared in black and gold. Houses, markets, temples, the river bridge, the southern gate. Then red mist spread through the map streets. People began falling where they stood. Not dead. Dreaming. A vegetable seller collapsed beside his cart and began clawing at the air. A child screamed at shadows no one else could see. A scholar ran into the street calling for his dead mother. Guards at the southern gate turned their spears on each other, convinced enemies had entered the city. The capital was drowning in nightmares. Lin Yao's hand tightened around the scroll. Yue Kaiyan said, By dawn, His Majesty will beg for the right to continue. Prince Rui added softly, and the people will thank us for saving them. There it was. Not madness. Not chaos for chaos's sake. Politics. The old, familiar cruelty of powerful men creating terror so they could sell obedience as safety. Lin Yao looked at Wei Han. He was already looking at her. No time to speak. No time to plan. Lin Yao grabbed the black map and tore it from the floor. The ancestral tablets shrieked. Yue Kaiyan's calm shattered. Stop her. Wei Han moved. His sword flashed once, twice, 3 times, forcing Prince Rui back. But Rui was not helpless. The red mark at his throat spread beneath his skin, and black veins crawled down his arms. He caught Wei Han's blade between 2 fingers. Metal groaned. Wei Han's eyes widened. Prince Rui smiled. General, did you really think border strength could match imperial blood? No, Wei Han said. He kicked him in the chest. Prince Rui flew backward into a row of ancestral tablets. Several fell. Yue Kaiyan's face twitched. Perhaps the dead emperors were easier to offend than he claimed. Lin Yao ran toward the side door with the map in one hand and the phoenix hairpin in the other. Yue Kaiyan struck the floor with his jade tablet. Red light spread across the hall. The exit vanished. Not closed. Vanished. In its place stood the imperial furnace. Flames rose higher than city walls. The same furnace. The same fire. Her death waiting with an open mouth. Lin Yao stopped. Her body remembered before her mind could argue. Heat. Hands gripping her arms. The emperor closing his eyes. Yue Kaiyan smiling. The bronze mouth below. Her heart began to race. Her fingers went numb around the map. For one breath, she was 16 again, powerless again, falling again. Yue Kaiyan's voice came through the flames. The body remembers truth, even when the mind invents courage. Lin Yao could not move. The false furnace roared. Then a hand closed around her wrist. Wei Han. His palm was bleeding where Prince Rui had cut him, but his grip was steady. "Princess," he said, "this is not the furnace." Lin Yao heard him. "Barely. Look at me." She did. Wei Han stood between her and the illusion, black armor scorched by dream fire, that was not real and still somehow burned. "You are not there," he said. The words entered her like cold water. "You are not there." Lin Yao inhaled. The phoenix hairpin burned bright. Her mother's voice echoed beneath Wei Han's. "A guardian does not begin with revenge." "No," Lin Yao thought. "But she does not end in fear." She cut her palm with the phoenix hairpin. Blood ran over the black map. The map turned gold. The false furnace cracked. Beyond it, Lin Yao saw the real exit. "Run," she said. Wei Han did not ask where. They ran. Behind them, Prince Rui rose from the broken tablets laughing. Yue Kaiyan shouted an order. Red light struck the wall where Lin Yao had stood one heartbeat before. They burst from the Hall of Ancestral Records into the Emperor's private temple. Outside, the palace was already in chaos. Servants ran through corridors. Guards shouted conflicting orders. Bells rang from every direction, each one slightly wrong, each one pulling nightmares out of the capital like hooks dragging fish from water. The 6th point on the map turned red. Lin Yao stumbled. Wei Han caught her elbow. "How do we stop them?" Lin Yao looked at the map. The true heavenly bell lay beneath the imperial furnace. The false bells were placed around the capital in a ritual circle. 9 echoes to weaken 9 chains. But the map showed something else now, that her blood had touched it. At the edge of the palace, beneath the old drum tower, one gold point pulsed faintly. Not red. Gold. An ancestral spirit node. Lin Yao remembered the bronze plate's words. The bell could command ancestral spirits. Or perhaps not the bell. Perhaps the guardian. "The drum tower," she said. Wei Han looked toward the chaos beyond the temple doors. "There will be soldiers." "Good, borrow some." "Borrow. You are a general." For the first time that night, he truly smiled. It was brief. Sharp. Almost dangerous. "Stay behind me." I am growing tired of that instruction. Survive tonight and complain tomorrow. They fought their way to the drum tower. Or rather, Wei Han fought, and Lin Yao turned every corridor into a trap. When guards loyal to Prince Rui blocked the east passage, she led them beneath a row of cracked temple bells and struck the phoenix hairpin against the wall. The bells rang once, disorienting every man except Wei Han. When a priest from the astronomical bureau tried to bind her shadow, she threw the black map at his feet and let it show him his own nightmare. He collapsed screaming about hands beneath the earth. The palace was no longer pretending to be orderly. Its masks had fallen. By the time they reached the old drum tower, 3 false bells had joined the ringing. 7 points red. 2 remaining. The drum tower stood on a stone platform overlooking the inner palace wall. Its great war drum had not been struck in decades. Dust covered its hide. The painted guardian beasts around the roof had faded from sun and rain. But beneath the platform, Lin Yao felt it. A presence. Old. Stern. Waiting. She climbed the tower steps. Wei Han followed, breathing hard. What now? Lin Yao looked at the war drum. In founding-era ceremonies, drums called soldiers. Bells summoned spirits. But what did a guardian use when the bell was still unborn? Her own blood answered before her thoughts did. Lin Yao pressed her wounded palm to the drum. The golden chain mark surfaced around her wrist. Pain shot through her arm. The drum skin drank her blood. Then, from beneath the tower, something rose. Not a ghost exactly. Not a man. An armored figure formed from gold light and old battlefield smoke. He wore the armor of the founding dynasty, his helm cracked, his spear broken in half. Behind him stood hundreds of faint soldiers, each one transparent, each one watching Lin Yao with hollow golden eyes. Wei Han dropped to one knee. "Ancestor Wei," he whispered. Lin Yao understood then. The Wei family had not only guarded borders. They had guarded one of the chains. The spirit looked at Wei Han, then at Lin Yao. Guardian blood, it said. Its voice sounded like shields struck in war. Lin Yao bowed. The false bells are waking the demon beneath the capital. I need your help. Command requires oath. What oath? The spirit lifted its broken spear toward her heart. Life for life, sound for silence, seal for soul. Wei Han stood immediately. No. The ancestral spirit did not look at him. Lin Yao did. What will it take? The spirit answered, years. Lin Yao's blood went cold. How many? Enough to wake the first chain. Wei Han stepped in front of her. Take mine. The spirit finally looked at him. You carry border oath, not listening blood. Then take both. No, Lin Yao said. Wei Han turned, Princess. No. She had died once because men decided her life was an acceptable price for safety. She would not build her own path by spending someone else's life without consent. The 8th point on the map turned red. Another false bell rang. The drum tower shook. Across the capital, nightmares deepened. Lin Yao saw people trapped inside their own grief, mothers clawing at empty cradles, old soldiers fighting wars that had ended 20 years ago, children running from shadows shaped like their fathers. Yue Kaiyan had turned a city into an altar. Lin Yao placed her wounded hand over her heart. Take from me. Wei Han's face tightened. Lin Yao. It was the first time he had used her name. Not princess. Not your highness. Her name. That almost made her hesitate. Almost. I am not dying, she said. Not tonight. The ancestral spirit drove the broken spear into the drum. Golden light surged upward. Lin Yao screamed. It felt as if years were being pulled from her bones thread by thread. Not enough to kill, enough to mark, enough to make her understand that power never arrived clean. The war drum sounded once. Boom. The sound rolled across the capital. Not loud like thunder. Deep like memory. The false bells wavered. One red point on the map turned gold. Then another. Citizens began waking in the southern district. The nightmares loosened. But the 9th point still pulsed red. Yue Kaiyan had one bell left. And it was inside the palace. The ancestral spirit knelt. All the ghostly soldiers behind him followed. Young guardian, it said. The words struck the tower like a second drumbeat. Lin Yao swayed. Wei Han caught her before she fell. Her hair had changed. Only one streak near her temple. White. Like her mother's had been. Lin Yao touched it with shaking fingers. Then the 9th bell rang from the imperial furnace. Not false. Not true. Something in between. Yue Kaiyan had begun the final rite. Chapter 11, The Mother's Secret. The 9th bell did not sound across the capital. It sounded inside Lin Yao's skull. She collapsed against Wei Han as the drum tower vanished around her. The golden soldiers blurred. The rain, the palace, the nightmare screams from the city all pulled away as if someone had dropped her into deep water. Then she was standing in a place she had never seen. And somehow knew. The first bell chamber. It lay far beneath the imperial furnace, carved into black stone older than the dynasty. 9 chains stretched from the ceiling into a pit so deep no light reached its bottom. At the center of the chamber hung the unfinished heavenly bell, not yet bronze, not yet spirit, only a vast outline formed from molten gold and shadow. Before it stood Consort Ming. Her hair was black. Her face was young. In her arms, she held a newborn child wrapped in red silk. Lin Yao. The vision did not know Lin Yao was watching. Or perhaps it did, and grief simply did not care. Consort Ming stood before the bell with blood running down one sleeve. Behind her, Emperor Shen shouted her name from beyond a sealed stone door. Minglin opened the door. He sounded younger. Terrified. Angry. Human. Consort Ming did not turn. Before her, the unfinished bell pulsed like a heart. From the pit below came a voice. Low. Sweet. Endless. Give me the child, it whispered. The dynasty will live, The emperor will love you again, the court will kneel. Give me the eclipse-born girl, and I will sleep another 100 years. Consort Ming held the baby closer. You have mistaken me for a mother who bargains. The thing in the pit laughed. The chamber shook. One of the 9 chains cracked. Outside the sealed door, the emperor struck the stone. Minglin. Consort Ming lifted her bleeding hand and pressed it to the unfinished bell. Heavenly bell, she said, bear witness. I, Minglin of the listening blood, refuse the false bargain. The bell gave no sound. The demon below laughed again. You are alone. Consort Ming looked down at her child. The baby Lin Yao slept through the end of the world. No, Consort Ming whispered. I am the door before the next guardian. She began to sing. It was the lullaby Lin Yao had heard the mad concubine singing in the cold palace. Half forgotten, broken by time. But here in the memory, the song was whole. As Consort Ming sang, her black hair turned white from root to end. Light poured from her body into the 9 chains. The cracked chain sealed itself. The pit screamed. The baby woke and began to cry. Outside the door, Emperor Shen stopped shouting. Perhaps he heard the bell. Perhaps he finally understood what his wife had been trying to tell him. Too late. When the song ended, Consort Ming fell to her knees. The unfinished bell glowed once. Not a ring. A promise. The stone door opened. Emperor Shen rushed inside and caught Consort Ming before she hit the ground. For a moment, he did not look like the emperor at all. He looked like a man who had arrived after the fire and found only ash. What have you done? He whispered. Consort Ming smiled faintly. Bought her time. For what? She turned her head toward the baby. To choose. The vision shifted. Years passed in broken flashes. Consort Ming confined inside her palace. Yue Kaiyan kneeling before the emperor with altered star charts. The astronomical bureau declaring the eclipse princess an omen. Consort Ming coughing blood into a handkerchief while writing letters that were never delivered. The emperor standing outside her door and leaving without entering. Yue Kaiyan burning records of the listening blood clan. Prince Rui, still a child, standing in the astronomical bureau while Yue Kaiyan pressed a red mark beneath his collar. Lin Yao saw the mark open like an eye. Then she saw the truth of Prince Rui. He was not born demon. He was made into a vessel. Selected because he was ambitious. Fed because he was willing. Loved by the court because he had learned early that masks were easier to wear than chains. The vision shifted again. Consort Ming lay dying in the abandoned palace. Her hair was white, her body was thin, the phoenix hairpin rested in her hand. Beside her stood a younger Yue Kaiyan. You could have been honored, he said. The emperor would have built temples for you if you had obeyed heaven. Consort Ming laughed softly. You still call that thing heaven? Yue Kaiyan's face hardened. It will make me immortal. It will eat you last. He struck her. Lin Yao tried to move. She could not. It was memory. Cruel, untouchable memory. Consort Ming fell against the low table. Blood touched the floor. Yue Kaiyan crouched beside her. Where is the guardian record? She smiled through blood. In the place you fear looking. Where? With the forgotten women. The cold palace. Yue Kaiyan understood too late. Rage twisted his face. He lifted his jade tablet. Consort Ming whispered, My daughter will hear the bell. Your daughter will die in a furnace. Then she will come back. Yue Kaiyan froze. So did Lin Yao. Consort Ming looked directly toward her. Not at Yue Kaiyan. At Lin Yao. Across death. Across time. Yar, she said, if you are seeing this, then my last prayer reached the bell. The dying room vanished. Lin Yao stood again in the first bell chamber. This time, Consort Ming stood before her as a spirit of pale gold light. Her white hair floated around her like moonlit silk. Lin Yao could finally speak. Mother. The word came out broken. Consort Ming reached for her. This time, when her hand touched Lin Yao's cheek, Lin Yao felt warmth. Not much. But enough. My child. Lin Yao wanted to ask 100 things. Why did you leave me? Did you suffer? Did father love you? Did you know I would die? But all that came out was, I'm angry. Consort Ming's eyes filled with sorrow. I know. I wanted revenge. I know. I still do. I know. The gentleness of those answers hurt worse than any rebuke. Lin Yao stepped back. Do not tell me to forgive him. I will not. Do not tell me to forgive the emperor. I will not. Do not tell me to save them, because I am good. Consort Ming's expression changed. Something like pride entered her eyes. Goodness is too small a word for what guardians do. Lin Yao went silent. Consort Ming turned toward the unfinished bell. The bell does not need a saint. It needs someone who can stand before hatred and decide what it is allowed to become. Below them, the pit breathed. The sound was closer now. Yue Kaiyan believes sacrifice is death, Consort Ming said. He thinks if he throws your body into the furnace, the bell will ring backward and open the final chain. Will it? If you're dragged there as prey, yes. Lin Yao's blood chilled. Then how do I stop it? Consort Ming looked at her. You must go to the furnace by choice. Lin Yao shook her head. No. Not to die. That is what everyone says before asking women to burn. Pain crossed her mother's face. Lin Yao did not apologize. Consort Ming accepted the wound. You must speak the guardian oath at the furnace mouth. The bell was formed there. The false right is strongest there. Only there can it be turned. And the price? Silence. There was always a price. Lin Yao was tired of discovering it after agreeing. Consort Ming said, the bell will ask you to surrender what binds you most tightly to the second life. My life. No. My memories. No. Lin Yao's throat tightened. Then what? Consort Ming touched her cheek again. Your hatred. Lin Yao stared at her. For one foolish moment, she almost laughed. Her hatred. That was the thing keeping her upright. The thing that warmed her when the palace turned cold. The thing that reminded her she had been wronged, that her death mattered, that the girl in the furnace had not simply vanished into smoke. Without hatred, who would she be? The obedient princess again. The frightened child. A daughter still waiting to be chosen. No, Lin Yao whispered. Consort Ming did not argue. That made it worse. If I give that up, Lin Yao said, they win. No. They killed me. Yes. They killed you. Yes. They turned my life into a ritual ingredient. Yes. Lin Yao's voice broke. Then, why should I let go of the only thing that still feels like mine? Consort Ming drew her into an embrace. This time, Lin Yao felt it fully. Warm arms. The scent of old incense and lotus flowers. A mother who had crossed death to hold her daughter once. Because hatred is yours, Consort Ming whispered, but so is everything beyond it. The first bell chamber began to fade. Consort Ming held her tighter. Listen carefully, Yue Kaiyan will condemn you again. Do not fight the path to the furnace. Fight what waits there. Mother. Wei Han carries the border oath. Trust him with the city. Trust the emperor only when he kneels to truth, not before. Mother, don't go. Consort Ming smiled through tears. I never left the sound. The vision shattered. Lin Yao woke in Wei Han's arms at the base of the drum tower. Rain fell on her face. The 9th bell rang again from the furnace. Wei Han looked down at her, fear naked in his eyes. Lin Yao. She sat up slowly. Her white streak had grown wider. In her hand, the phoenix hairpin had cracked down the center. But inside the crack was a thread of golden fire. Lin Yao closed her fingers around it. Yue Kaiyan is going to condemn me again. Wei Han's jaw tightened, then we stop him. Lin Yao looked toward the imperial furnace. Above it, red light stained the clouds. No, she said, this time we let him take me there. Chapter 12, Condemned Again. By dawn, the capital looked like it had survived a war no one could remember fighting. Market stalls lay broken in the streets. Temple bells hung cracked in their towers. Families clung to each other outside their homes, weeping over nightmares that still felt more real than morning. Soldiers stood with blood on their sleeves and no memory of drawing their swords. The false bells had been silenced. Most of them. The drum tower's ancestral sound had woken half the city before Yue Kaien's nightmare rite could finish. People were alive who should have died screaming in their sleep. But fear did not vanish with sunrise. It changed shape. By the second hour, the rumors began. The unlucky princess had angered heaven. The cold palace had glowed with forbidden light. General Wei had broken into ancestral grounds with her. The Astronomical Bureau had discovered the cause of the nightmares. By the third hour, the cure had a name. Sacrifice. Lin Yao listened to the rumors from a hidden room beneath the drum tower, while Wei Han's loyal soldiers guarded the entrances. She sat at a rough wooden table with the black map, the cracked phoenix hairpin, and the bronze plate laid before her. Wei Han stood across from her, arms folded, expression carved from stone. "No," he said. Lin Yao did not look up. "I have not said anything yet." "You have that look." "What look?" "The look of someone preparing to walk into a trap and call it strategy." She lifted her eyes. "It is strategy." "It is a trap." "Both can be true." Wei Han's control cracked. He slammed one hand on the table. The bronze plate jumped. "You said the bell will ring backward if they drag you there as prey. Then we do not let them take you." "My mother said I must go by choice." "Your mother also said the bell will ask for your hatred. Do you know what that means?" Lin Yao looked at the cracked hairpin. "No." "Then you cannot agree." "I already did." "Lin Yao." Again her name. It sounded different in his voice now. Less like warning. More like plea. Lin Yao wished he would stop saying it that way. It made the path ahead feel less clean. "General Wei," she said quietly, "last night I saw the capital dreaming. I saw children running from shadows. I saw old soldiers killing ghosts with real swords. Yue Kaien did that before the final seal even opened. If he succeeds, there will be no court left to expose. No border left to guard. No dynasty left to hate. Then let me take soldiers to the furnace. And Prince Rui will call it rebellion. The emperor will panic. The court will split. Yue Kaien will use the bloodshed to finish the rite anyway. We cannot just hand you over." "We are not handing me over." Lin Yao touched the black map. Gold light spread across it. "You will use the panic to evacuate the eastern district, secure the drum tower, and find the remaining echo vessels. The map shows 3 are damaged but not destroyed. If Yue Kaien activates them during the ceremony, the city falls asleep again." Wei Han stared at her. "You are giving me the city." "Yes." "While you go to the furnace alone." "Yes." "No." Lin Yao's patience snapped. "Do you think I want this?" The room went silent. Wei Han did not answer. Lin Yao stood. "Do you think I want to see that furnace again? Do you think I want to smell the smoke, hear the priests, watch my father decide whether I am worth less than a bell?" Her voice shook. She hated that it shook. But she could not stop. "I am afraid every moment I breathe. I was afraid at the banquet. I was afraid in my mother's palace. I was afraid in the trial hall. I was afraid when the illusion showed me the fire. I am afraid now." Wei Han's expression changed. Lin Yao pressed one hand to her chest. "But fear is not proof that I should stop. Sometimes it is only proof that the path remembers hurting me." Wei Han looked away first. His jaw worked once. Then he said, "If you die, I will burn the Astronomical Bureau to the ground. If I die, aim for Yue Kaien first." He looked back at her. She smiled faintly. He did not. But the anger in his eyes had changed. It had become oath. Before noon, the imperial order arrived. Not by messenger. By army. 300 palace guards surrounded the drum tower. Priests from the Astronomical Bureau carried white banners painted with red stars. Behind them came ministers in court robes, eager to witness obedience from a safe distance. At their head stood Prince Rui. He wore mourning white. For a sacrifice that had not yet happened. Lin Yao watched from the tower steps. Wei Han stood beside her. The prince looked up and smiled. 17th sister, he called, Father Emperor summons you. Lin Yao descended the steps alone. Wei Han moved to follow. She stopped him with one glance. His hands closed into fists. Prince Rui's gaze flicked between them. Interest sharpened his smile. How touching, he said softly when Lin Yao reached the courtyard. I was told the border general had become loyal to you. I did not expect him to look so ready to die for it. You misunderstand loyalty because you have only purchased it. His smile thinned. Good. Lin Yao wanted him irritated. Irritated men made careless choices. Prince Rui stepped closer. The red mark beneath his collar was hidden again, but Lin Yao could feel it. The demon vein inside him pulsed in answer to the map folded beneath her sleeve. You should not have entered the ancestral hall, he said. You should not have killed your steward. For the first time, Prince Rui's mask dropped completely. Only for a heartbeat. Beneath it was not rage. It was emptiness. Gao was useful, he said, then he was not. Lin Yao studied him. There had been a time, perhaps, when he was only ambitious. A prince raised among factions, taught that tenderness was weakness and power was the only language the palace respected. Then Yue Kaiyan found him. Fed him. Opened something inside him that should have remained closed. Now Prince Rui wore humanity like court robes. Beautifully. But removable. Does it hurt? Lin Yao asked. His eyes narrowed. Does what hurt? Being hollow. Prince Rui struck her. The slap snapped her face to the side. Wei Han's sword came halfway out before Lin Yao lifted one hand behind her. Stop. For one terrible second, she thought he would ignore her. Then the blade slid back into its sheath. Lin Yao turned back to Prince Rui with blood at the corner of her mouth. There you are, she said. The prince's breathing changed. Priests shifted uneasily. Several guards looked away. Prince Rui had shown them something ugly. Small crack. Useful crack. He grabbed her arm. Take her. The palace guards surrounded Lin Yao. This time, they used red ropes marked with astronomical bureau seals. The moment the rope touched her skin, the golden chain mark beneath her wrist tightened. It did not burn through. Not yet. The bell was waiting too. As they led her away, Lin Yao looked back once. Wei Han remained at the drum tower, face pale with restraint. She did not say goodbye. Goodbyes belonged to people who accepted endings. Lin Yao was walking toward a beginning wrapped in fire. The path to the imperial furnace had been prepared like a festival road. White banners hung from palace walls. Priests scattered ash instead of flower petals. Citizens pressed behind guard lines, some weeping, some praying, some staring at Lin Yao with desperate hope. That hurt more than hatred. They believed her death might save them. And why wouldn't they? All night, nightmares had torn through their homes. By morning, the Astronomical Bureau had announced the reason. The heavenly bell had been angered by corrupted guardian blood. If the 17th princess willingly returned that blood to the furnace, the dynasty would be cleansed. Willingly. Yue Kaiyan was careful. He had learned from the old inscription. Dead blood would not work. Pray would not work. So he needed the appearance of choice. He needed Lin Yao to walk. He did not understand that choice made under lies and knives was not the same as oath. At the furnace square, the entire court waited. The imperial furnace rose at the center, larger than Lin Yao remembered and exactly as terrible. Its bronze mouth opened toward the sky. Flames burned within it, white at the core, gold at the edges, red where shadow touched fire. Above the furnace, suspended by 9 half-formed chains, hung the unfinished heavenly bell. In her first life, Lin Yao had seen only fear. Now she saw the truth. The bell was incomplete because it was resisting. Every false inscription Yue Kaiyan had carved into the furnace walls was a chain trying to force it backward. Every priest chant was a hook. Every drop of prepared sacrificial blood painted along the bronze rim was not an offering. It was a command. And the bell hated it. Lin Yao felt that hatred answer her own. For one moment, the two became almost indistinguishable. The emperor sat on a high platform overlooking the square. He looked ill. Good. Let guilt have teeth. Yue Kaiyan stood before the furnace in ceremonial robes. His white jade tablet had turned almost entirely red. Prince Rui stood behind him, dressed in mourning white, one hand resting over the hidden mark at his throat. When Lin Yao was brought forward, the priests began to chant. The sound crawled across her skin. Yue Kaiyan lifted both hands. "Princess Lin Yao," he said, voice carrying across the square, "last night the capital suffered because the heavenly bell's guardian blood was corrupted. Do you come willingly to return that blood and cleanse the dynasty?" There it was. The question. The trap. The pass. Lin Yao looked up at the emperor. For one heartbeat, she saw him not as the throne, but as the man who had brought her mother's letter to the cold palace. The man who knew enough to fear the bell. The man who still might choose wrong because fear had ruled him longer than love. His hands gripped the arms of his chair. He said nothing. Of course. Lin Yao smiled. Not kindly. Not gently. Like a blade, remembering the hand that broke it. I come willingly, she said. Yue Kaiyan's eyes lit with triumph. Lin Yao continued, but not to cleanse the dynasty. The chanting faltered. Yue Kaiyan's smile froze. Lin Yao stepped toward the furnace. The red ropes around her wrists fell away as ash. The phoenix hairpin cracked fully in her sleeve, releasing a thread of golden fire that wrapped around her bleeding palm. She raised her hand toward the unfinished bell. I come to ask the heavenly bell who corrupted it. The furnace roared. The court screamed. And for the first time in 300 years, the heavenly bell began to answer. Chapter 13, The Guardian Oath. The heavenly bell did not ring. Not at first. It breathed. The unfinished bronze shape hanging above the furnace expanded like a chest drawing in air for the first time. Flames bent toward it. The false inscriptions carved into the furnace walls flickered red, then black, then red again as if some hidden hand was trying to force them back into obedience. Lin Yao stood at the mouth of the furnace with her bleeding palm raised. Golden fire from the cracked phoenix hairpin wrapped around her fingers. The court screamed behind her. Ministers stumbled away from the square. Priests dropped ritual vessels. Palace guards drew swords, then forgot whom they were supposed to threaten. Above them all, the emperor rose from his chair, face white beneath the imperial crown. Yue Kaiyan's triumph vanished. For the first time since Lin Yao's rebirth, his face showed open fear. Stop her, he shouted. No one moved. Not because they obeyed Lin Yao. Because the furnace would not let them. The air around her had thickened into soundless pressure. Every step toward her became impossible, as if the entire square had tilted away from the furnace mouth and left Lin Yao alone at the center of heaven's attention. Prince Rui reached for her anyway. The red mark beneath his collar flared. Black veins spread across his throat. His eyes turned crimson at the edges, and for one breath the gentle prince disappeared entirely. In his place stood something wearing a prince's bones. 17th sister, he said, voice layered with another voice beneath it. Do not be foolish. Lin Yao did not look at him. She looked at the bell. I ask again, she said, who corrupted you? The unfinished bell answered with pressure. Not words. Memory. The entire furnace square changed. The court vanished into darkness. Then the darkness filled with scenes of the past. Yue Kaiyan as a young star reader, kneeling before a crack in the earth below the astronomical bureau. The white jade tablet in his hands, clean and pale. A voice rising from below. Not loud. Not forceful. Kind. That was the horror of it. The demon did not first speak like a monster. It spoke like an answer. It promised Yue Kaiyan recognition when senior astrologers mocked him. It promised him the emperor's ear when princes ignored him. It promised him immortality when he first found a gray hair at his temple and understood that brilliance still died. Scene after scene flashed across the square. Yue Kaiyan altering star charts. Yue Kaiyan marking Prince Rui's blood while the young prince smiled through tears, eager to become chosen. Yue Kaiyan telling Emperor Shen that consort Ming practiced forbidden rites. Yue Kaiyan burning guardian records. Yue Kaiyan standing beside the furnace in Lin Yao's first life, smiling as guards lifted her body over the flames. The final image froze above the square. Lin Yao falling into fire. Her own death, displayed before the court that had once allowed it. No one breathed. The emperor gripped the railing of the platform. His lips parted. No sound came out. Yue Kaiyan staggered back. Illusion, demon illusion. The heavenly bell answered. Dong. One note. Not full. Not complete. But real. The sound struck the square like judgment. Every lie Yue Kaiyan had ever tied to the ritual rose around him in red threads. They wrapped his arms, his throat, his white jade tablet. Each thread carried a voice. The dead steward Gao. The forged clerk Kaio Ren. The murdered star readers of the Astronomical Bureau. The women of the Cold Palace. Consort Ming. And Lin Yao's own scream from the life that had burned. Yue Kaiyan lifted the jade tablet, and the red threads tightened. For the first time, his perfect voice cracked. I served heaven. The bell gave another breath. The red threads turned black. Beneath Yue Kaiyan's feet, the stone split. From the crack rose a smell like old blood, sealed in wet earth. Prince Rui began to laugh. Softly at first. Then harder. The court turned toward him. He pulled aside his collar. The demon mark beneath his skin opened like an eye. Heaven, Rui said, you still need that word. His voice was no longer entirely his. Yue Kaiyan looked at him sharply. Your Highness, control yourself. Prince Rui smiled at him. No. The single word changed everything. Yue Kaiyan went still. Lin Yao understood. He had thought he controlled the vessel. But greed always mistook partnership for ownership. The demon under the capital had not been waiting for Yue Kaiyan to become immortal. It had been waiting for Yue Kaiyan to open enough doors. Prince Rui stepped toward the furnace. The pressure that stopped everyone else parted for him. Because the furnace recognized the demon vein in his blood. Sister, he said, you have done beautifully. The court sees Yue Kaiyan's lies, the emperor sees his shame, the people will remember your courage. A touching ending. Lin Yao's fingers tightened around golden fire. Prince Rui's smile widened. Now die properly. He lunged. Wei Han reached the square at the same moment. He came through the northern gate with 200 soldiers behind him, armor wet from rain, swords drawn, black banners snapping above them. Protect the princess, he shouted. The soldiers charged. The court broke apart. Yue Kaiyan raised his jade tablet again, trying to command the priests, but half of them were staring at the exposed visions with horror. The other half ran. Prince Rui struck at Lin Yao with one clawed hand. Wei Han intercepted him. Sword met demon vein flesh. Sparks burst between them. Wei Han slid backward, boots cutting lines through ash. Prince Rui tilted his head. Still standing. Wei Han spat blood to the side. Still annoying you. Rui's face darkened. Lin Yao wanted to help. Every instinct screamed at her to turn, to fight, to repay every wound with blood. But the bell was waiting. The guardian oath. At the furnace mouth. Now. She placed her bleeding palm against the bronze rim. The fire did not burn her. It opened. Inside the furnace, Lin Yao saw her first death again. Not as an illusion this time. As a door. The girl she had been stood in the flames, 16, terrified, betrayed, still reaching upward for a father who had closed his eyes. Lin Yao stared at her. The dead girl stared back. Then the bell spoke. Not aloud. Inside her blood. What do you bring? Lin Yao knew the answer Yue Kaiyan expected. Blood. Life. Death. The old, cruel currency of men who built altars and called them necessity. She raised her head. I bring witness. The furnace trembled. What do you choose? Lin Yao looked across the square. Wei Han fighting Prince Rui, with blood running down his arm. The emperor frozen on his platform, surrounded by truth he could no longer avoid. Yue Kaiyan clawing at the red threads of his own lies. The court that had once condemned her. The city beyond the palace, still bruised by nightmares. And within the flames, the terrified girl she had been. Lin Yao's voice did not shake. I choose life. The bell's pressure deepened. What do you surrender? There it was. The price. Her mother's warning returned. The bell will ask you to surrender what binds you most tightly to the second life. Your hatred. Lin Yao closed her eyes. Immediately, faces rose inside her. Yue Kaiyan smiling beside the furnace. Prince Rui looking impatient as she screamed. The emperor closing his eyes. The guards lifting her. The ministers looking away. Every servant who stopped bringing food. Every priest who called her unlucky. Every whisper that turned a girl into an offering. Her hatred had kept them all alive inside her. If she surrendered it, would they become innocent? No. That was the first truth. Letting go of hatred was not pardon. It was refusing to keep drinking poison because someone else deserved to suffer. Lin Yao opened her eyes. The girl in the flames was crying. Not from fear now. From exhaustion. Lin Yao reached toward her. I will not forget you, she whispered. The dead girl took her hand. For one heartbeat, Lin Yao felt the furnace again. The burning. The falling. The betrayal. Then the girl in the flames stepped into her. Not disappearing. Coming home. Lin Yao faced the bell. I surrender my hatred, she said, but not my memory, not my judgment, not my will. The unfinished heavenly bell rang. This time fully. Dong. The sound tore open the sky. Golden light exploded from the furnace. The false inscriptions shattered. Every red thread around Yue Kaiyan snapped tight. Prince Rui screamed. Wei Han dropped to one knee, covering his ears as the bell's sound rolled through the palace, through the capital, through the 9 chains beneath the earth. The bell did not ring backward. It rang awake. Above the furnace, bronze formed from light. The heavenly bell completed itself in one impossible breath, vast and ancient, covered in inscriptions no living scholar had written. At its center appeared a single mark. The same golden chain that had once curled around Lin Yao's wrist. The mark of the guardian. Then the bell turned its sound toward Yue Kaiyan. All his lies became visible. All his pacts. All his murders. All his fear. The court saw everything. And this time, no one could look away. Chapter 14, The Demon Under the Capital. Yue Kaiyan did not die when the heavenly bell exposed him. That would have been too merciful. He remained standing at the edge of the furnace square, wrapped in blackened threads, his white jade tablet cracking in his hands. Every secret he had buried now circled him like carrion birds made of light. The court stared. Some ministers wept. Some fell to their knees. Some looked as if they were already calculating how much of their own guilt the bell might reveal next. Emperor Shen descended from the platform. No one stopped him. Perhaps no one knew what an emperor was supposed to do after heaven itself displayed his failure. He walked toward Lin Yao slowly. His face was no longer cold. No longer imperial. It was ruined. That should have satisfied her. In another version of this moment, the version she had fed with hatred for 3 years and 1 death, Lin Yao would have wanted him to kneel in ash and beg. Now she felt something stranger. Not forgiveness. Never that easily. But distance. As if the hatred had been a chain tied between them, and the bell had cut it. The wound remained. But it no longer pulled her body toward his shadow. The emperor stopped before her. Yar, he said. Her childhood name sounded unfamiliar in his mouth. Lin Yao looked at him. Not now. 2 words. Quiet. Final. The emperor flinched. Then the ground split open beneath the furnace. The entire square dropped half a handspin. Stone cracked outward in 9 directions. The palace walls shook. The high platform collapsed behind the emperor in a roar of wood and dust. Ministers screamed and ran. Guards were thrown from their feet. The heavenly bell rang again, but this time the sound strained. Deep below the palace, something laughed. Not through Prince Rui. Not through Yue Kaiyan. Directly, demon ancestor Luo had awakened. The furnace shattered. From beneath it rose a column of black mist threaded with red lightning. The mist twisted upward, taking the shape of a vast horned shadow with eyes like burning wells. Its hands were too long. Its mouth was too wide. Around its chest hung 9 golden chains, 8 bright and 1 cracked. The 9th chain. Weakened by the false bells. Fed by nightmares. Opened by Yue Kaiyan's greed. The demon's gaze fell on the square. Hundreds of people collapsed at once. Not from force. From memory. Every person touched by its gaze relived their worst desire and worst fear together. Ministers saw themselves crowned and executed. Priests saw heaven with no gods inside it. Palace guards saw the faces of everyone they had obeyed orders to harm. Yue Kaiyan looked up at the demon with tears in his eyes. "My lord," he whispered. The demon looked at him. For one heartbeat, Yue Kaiyan smiled like a starving man seeing food. Then demon ancestor Luo opened its mouth and inhaled. Yue Kaiyan screamed. The red power inside his jade tablet ripped free, streaming into the demon's mouth. His hair turned white, his face withered. The black threads around him tightened until he dropped to his knees, clutching at the broken tablet. Consort Ming had been right. It would eat him last. Just not as late as he hoped. Prince Rui laughed from where he stood beyond Wei Han's sword. Finally, the demon turned toward him. Rui spread his arms. "I carried your vein, I opened the court, I brought the bell to the edge, I am your vessel." Demon ancestor Luo lowered its massive shadow head. For one moment, it seemed almost tender. Then it said, "You are a door." Prince Rui's smile faltered. The demon reached through the air and placed one claw against his chest. The mark beneath Rui's collar burst open. Black blood spilled down his robes. He screamed as the demon pulled the opened vein out of him like a red thread from cloth. Wei Han dragged him backward before the demon could take the rest. Lin Yao saw it. Even now, Wei Han saved him. Not because Rui deserved it. Because if the demon devoured the vessel completely, the 9th chain might break. The heavenly bell's sound pressed against Lin Yao's bones. "Guardian." She understood. This was not over because the bell had chosen her. Choosing was only the beginning. She raised one hand. The completed bell above the broken furnace lowered slightly, answering her movement. Golden inscriptions flared across its surface. The demon looked at her. Its eyes widened. "Listening blood," it said, "Minglan's child." Lin Yao's voice carried through the square. "You know my mother's." The demon smiled. The expression made several ministers faint. She sang beautifully while dying. Wei Han shouted her name. Too late. Rage rose in Lin Yao, so fast it almost became the old hatred again. The bell shuddered. The 9th chain cracked wider. Lin Yao stopped breathing. There. That was the trap. Not sacrifice. Not fear. Provocation. The demon did not need her dead if it could make the guardian's heart ring backward. It wanted her hatred back. It wanted her to use the bell as a weapon instead of a seal. Lin Yao closed her fist. The bell steadied. "My mother sealed you," she said. "I will finish her work." The demon laughed. "With what? A court that betrayed you? An emperor who chose stone over blood? A general with one sword? A city that would have cheered if your death ended its nightmares?" The words struck everyone in the square. Because they were not entirely lies. The best poison never was. Lin Yao looked at the people around her. The ministers who had whispered. The priests who had chanted. The guards who had held ropes. The emperor who had closed his eyes in another life and almost done it again in this one. Then she looked beyond the palace walls. The capital. Children waking from nightmares. Mothers holding them. Old soldiers lowering swords with shaking hands. Women in the cold palace, pressing their palms to cracked windows as golden light passed over them. The city was not innocent. No city was. But innocence was not the price of protection. If guardians saved only the worthy, seals would always fail. Lin Yao lifted both hands. Wei Han. He turned from dragging Prince Rui away. Evacuate the square, get the emperor out. The emperor looked up sharply. No. Lin Yao did not look at him. That was not a request. Wei Han hesitated only once. Then he obeyed. He began shouting orders. His soldiers moved through the broken square, dragging ministers, priests, and guards toward the outer gates. Some resisted. Wei Han struck one minister unconscious and had 2 soldiers carry him anyway. Efficient. Lin Yao approved. The emperor refused to move. Of course he did. He pushed past a guard and stepped toward Lin Yao. I will not leave you. The words came too late to heal anything. But not too late to matter. Lin Yao finally looked at him. Then kneel. The emperor froze. The entire square seemed to hear. Even the demon's smile widened with interest. Lin Yao's voice remained calm. Not to me, to truth. Emperor Shen stared at his daughter. Around him, the dynasty he had tried to protect through fear was cracking under a demon's shadow. The astrologer he trusted was withering beside a broken tablet. The son he favored lay bleeding with black veins under his skin. The daughter he feared stood before the heavenly bell with white in her hair and fire in her hand. Slowly, Emperor Shen knelt. The court gasped. Lin Yao did not soften. Say it. His voice broke. The prophecy was false. The bell glowed brighter. Say it. Consort Ming was loyal. The golden chains around the demon tightened. Lin Yao's eyes burned. Say it. The emperor bowed his head to the stones. I condemned my daughter out of fear. The heavenly bell rang. Not in judgment this time. In recognition. The 8th chain blazed gold. The 9th chain stopped cracking. Demon ancestor Lu O screamed. Its shadow form thrashed above the broken furnace, striking the palace walls with claws of mist and lightning. Towers collapsed. Tiles flew like knives. The sky above the capital turned black. Lin Yao felt the bell asking. Command. She spread her bleeding palm. The golden chain mark rose from her wrist, circled her arm, and extended into the air. One end attached to the heavenly bell, the other reached toward the demon's cracked 9th chain. Pain tore through her. Not years this time. Not memory. Responsibility. Every life inside the capital pressed against her at once. Every fear, every hope, every small, ordinary wish to see morning. No wonder guardians broke. No wonder her mother had turned white in 3 days. Lin Yao gritted her teeth. Wei Han saw her stumble and ran back toward her. Stay back, she shouted. He did not. Of course he did not. He reached her side and placed one bloodied hand over hers. Border oath, he said. The ancestral spirit from the drum tower appeared behind him, then hundreds of ghostly soldiers. They knelt, spears lowered toward the demon. From the cold palace, paper tablets of forgotten women rose into the sky like pale birds. From Consort Ming's abandoned palace, blue light streamed upward. From the imperial ancestors, reluctantly, grudgingly, golden sparks descended. Lin Yao was not alone. The demon realized it at the same moment she did. Its scream turned to fury. You protect them after what they did. Lin Yao looked at the emperor kneeling in ash. At Prince Rui bleeding and shaking as the demon vein tore free. At Yue Kaiyan withered beside his broken dream. At the court crawling away from truth. No, she said, I protect what they do not own. The heavenly bell rang one final time. And Lin Yao commanded the 9th chain to close. Chapter 15, The Bell's True Master. When the 9th chain closed, the world lost sound. For one impossible moment, the capital became silent. No screams. No falling stone. No crackling fire. No priest chants, no court weeping, no demon rage. Only Lin Yao standing before the broken furnace with Wei Han's hand over hers and the heavenly bell above them, pouring gold light into the wound beneath the palace. Then sound returned all at once. Demon ancestor Lu O screamed as the 9 chains wrapped around its shadow body. The scream shook dust from every roof in the capital. It shattered the remaining false bells hidden in temple towers and noble courtyards. It split Yue Kaien's jade tablet into powder. The demon fought. It clawed at the ground. It called to Prince Rui. It called to Yue Kaien. It called to every frightened heart in the square, promising survival, revenge, power, forgiveness, whatever each person most wanted to hear. No one answered. Not because everyone was brave. Because the heavenly bell rang through the promises and revealed the teeth beneath them. The demon's shadow body collapsed inward. 1 chain. Then 3. Then 9. With a final roar, demon ancestor Luo was dragged beneath the furnace, down through the cracked earth, back into the abyss consort Ming had held closed with her own life. The ground sealed. The furnace square fell still. The heavenly bell hung above the ruins, complete and quiet. Lin Yao remained standing for 3 breaths. Then her knees gave way. Wei Han caught her before she hit the ground. Lin Yao. His voice sounded too far away. She tried to answer, but no words came. The golden chain mark around her arm faded back beneath her skin. The white streak in her hair remained. The phoenix hairpin, now fully cracked, dissolved into a small ember of gold light and sank into her palm. For a moment, she felt her mother. Not as a vision. Not as a voice. As warmth. Proud. Grieving. Free. Lin Yao closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the emperor was kneeling in front of her. Not on a platform. Not above her. In the ash. He looked at Wei Han, then at Lin Yao, and his face broke in a way she had once dreamed of seeing. Yar, he whispered. She was too tired for anger. Too tired for tenderness. That was almost peaceful. Do not call me that in front of the court, she said. The emperor swallowed. Then, before every surviving minister, guard, priest, servant, and soldier in the furnace square, Emperor Shen bowed his head to the ground. Princess Lin Yao, he said, voice hoarse but carrying, guardian of the heavenly bell. This emperor was blind. The court froze. Lin Yao watched him carefully. An apology could be another performance. A kneeling emperor could still stand later and become a throne again. But the bell gave no warning. No angry vibration. Only silence. For now, the words were true. Yue Kaien laughed. The sound came from the edge of the square. He was still alive. Barely. His hair had turned completely white. His skin clung to his bones. Without the demon's power, he looked like what he had always feared becoming. Old. Mortal. Small. 2 soldiers dragged him forward and forced him to his knees. He stared at Lin Yao with hatred so pure, it almost felt familiar. You think you won, he rasped. Wei Han's hand moved to his sword. Lin Yao lifted 1 finger. He stopped. Yue Kaien smiled with bloody teeth. The bell is only 1 seal. The West is already awake. The dragon remembers. The old war was never only beneath this capital. Lin Yao's expression did not change. Inside, the heavenly bell gave 1 low pulse. Not fear. Confirmation. Yue Kaien began to laugh again. Then the bell rang once. Softly. The red threads of his lies tightened around his throat. His laughter stopped. Yue Kaien clawed at the threads, eyes bulging. No one moved to save him, not the priests who had served him, not the ministers who had feared him, not Prince Rui, who lay unconscious beneath guard with the demon vein burned out of his chest. Lin Yao watched until Yue Kaien fell silent. She did not enjoy it. That surprised her. She had imagined his death so many times. In her first life, in the furnace, in every frightened night after rebirth. She had imagined fire, blood, begging. Now he was dead, and the world felt no cleaner. Only quieter. Perhaps that was enough. The trials began before sunset. Not formal trials. Not yet. Truth came first. The heavenly bell hung above the furnace square and answered every question the emperor dared ask. The astronomical bureau's hidden accounts, the forged prophecies, the murdered witnesses, the sealed guardian records, the echo vessels placed around the capital. the ministers who had knowingly accepted Yue Kaiyan's lies because those lies benefited their factions. Some confessed immediately. Some tried to run. The bell made running difficult. By nightfall, half the astronomical bureau was in chains. Prince Rui woke once. Lin Yao was there. So was the emperor. Rui opened his eyes and looked first at the emperor, then at Lin Yao. Without the demon vein, he seemed younger. Not innocent. Never innocent. But smaller. "Did I lose?" he whispered. Lin Yao looked at him for a long moment. "Yes." He gave a faint, broken laugh. "I thought being chosen meant I was safe." The emperor closed his eyes. Lin Yao said, "Yue Kaiyan chose your hunger. The demon chose your weakness. Neither chose you." Rui turned his head away. One tear slid into his hair. Lin Yao felt no pity. Not exactly. But she also felt no need to make the wound deeper. That perhaps was what surrendering hatred meant. Not softness. Space. The next morning, the capital gathered outside the palace. They had seen the black sky, heard the bell, woken from nightmares, watched golden chains close over the imperial district. Rumors had already turned Lin Yao into 10 different things. A ghost princess. A living saint. A demon bride. A reincarnated immortal. The emperor wanted to issue a formal decree naming her guardian princess and protector of the heavenly bell. Lin Yao refused the first version. It said the emperor, in his wisdom, had recognized her sacred role. She crossed out in his wisdom, with so much force the brush tore the paper. The second version was better. Not perfect, but better. At noon, the decree was read from the palace gate. Princess Lin Yao, daughter of consort Ming of the listening blood, had exposed false prophecy, awakened the heavenly bell, and sealed the demon beneath the capital. The astronomical bureau would be purged. Consort Ming's loyalty would be restored. The cold palace records would be opened and the forgotten dead given names. At the end, the emperor added one sentence by his own hand. The throne failed its guardian. Lin Yao allowed it to remain. When the decree ended, the crowd did not cheer at first. They knelt. Thousands of people lowering themselves in the streets, not to the emperor, but toward the bell tower where Lin Yao stood in plain white robes with one streak of white in her hair. She did not know how to feel. So she felt nothing for a moment. Then Asu, who had finally been allowed back to her side, burst into tears loudly enough to ruin the solemn atmosphere. Lin Yao looked at her. "Are you injured?" Asu shook her head, sobbing. "No, princess. I'm just very proud and very scared and very angry that no one let me visit." For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Lin Yao laughed. It was small. It hurt. But it was real. Wei Han stood nearby, pretending not to hear. Badly. Later, when the crowd dispersed, and the palace began the long, ugly work of cleaning its own rot, Lin Yao returned alone to the heavenly bell. It now hung in a rebuilt frame above the sealed furnace pit. No priests chanted around it. No false inscriptions glowed. No sacrificial vessels waited at its base. Only the bell. Quiet. Ancient. Hers, though she disliked the ownership of such a thing. "What now?" she asked. The bell answered with a vision. Not of the capital. The world opened westward. Mountains rose beyond the border. Snowfields glittered beneath a red dawn. A ruined fortress stood at the edge of a cliff, its gates carved with dragon scales. Beneath the fortress, something green-gold pulsed inside stone. A seal. Not a bell. A dragon coiled around a square imperial stamp, its eyes closed, its claws gripping old storm clouds. Then Lin Yao saw blood on snow. Wei Han's banner torn in half. A woman in armor kneeling before the dragon's seal. And a voice, colder than mountain wind, saying, "The Western Guardian has fallen." The vision vanished. Lin Yao stood before the bell, the last warmth of victory leaving her hands. Behind her, Wei Han entered quietly. "Princess." She turned. For once, she did not correct the title. "General Wei," she said, "how soon can your soldiers march west?" He studied her face. Whatever he saw there made his hand move to his sword. At dawn, the heavenly bell gave one soft note. Not warning. Summons. Lin Yao looked west, beyond the palace walls, beyond the capital that had tried to burn her and now called her guardian. Book 1 of her life had ended in fire. Book 2 would begin in snow.